just suddenly mute.
Are you stupid, eh? Are you a stupid fool? Well, why can't you drive then? You can't even drive.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm taking time out of my busy schedule of monitoring the situation to do this stream. And because of that, I don't want it to take too long because I've got a date with about 1,000 Judge Napolitano videos that I'm hoping will be uploaded by the time this is finished. I was disgusted that the judge had not got content up already because the old man was to sleep. How dare he sleep at this hour? We demand takes from the usual crew. But anyway, how are you doing this week, Simon?
I'm very well. It's a beautiful day out there, folks. You really should go outside and listen to this stream with a nice drink. But I do just want to say, on a serious note, I want to say thoughts and prayers for the Islamic Republic of Iran, who are suffering today the ignominy and grief of a catastrophic defeat by gaining everything they could have possibly ever wanted for, along with a double helping of more than they ever dreamed of. According to Jake Wallace-Simons on LBC earlier, their leadership is on its knees and they are crushed and humiliated. And all I can say, if this is what losing a war looks like, in the words of Kenny Everett, let's bomb Russia. George Orwell has a good quote on this as well. The quickest way of ending a war is to lose it. And Donny has found that out. That's from Orwell's essay, Second Thoughts on James Burnham, by the way.
All it cost them was one measly Mexican taco. Isn't that incredible?
I see people call Taco Tuesday. Yeah.
What a bargain, eh? I'm going to give you 1 hour. I mean 1 hour, not 5 years. I'm going to give you 1 hour to get out there and find a bargain. Who used to say that? Anyone? Anyone remember?
Oh, Dale Winton.
No, it was David Dickinson.
Oh,
what was that show called?
Bargain Hunt.
Bargain
Hunt.
No. I mean 1 hour, not 5 years. Oh, what did he used to say? He had like a little catchphrase. It's a bargain. It's a dazzler. It's a Bobby Dazzler. Yeah. And in many ways, Donald Trump is a kind of David Dickinson. It's like if we had made David Dickinson the president or the prime minister, it's not a million miles away from Trump being the president. If you think
there are going to be photos of you out there one day with just that quote next to it. Donald Trump is a bit of a David Dickinson character. That's what it's going to be.
He's a combination of that. And as we were speculating our chat before the stream, his performance yesterday, where he sort of kept changing the numbers of his enemies, was very redolent of Falstaff.
There's a scene in Henry the Fourth Part 1 where Falstaff and his friends are kind of they actually ambushed. To explain it, they do a robbery themselves, and then the robbery is ambushed by a setup that I think Hal himself sets up. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And then they embellish the story, even though it's like a 2-on-3 fight, and they're absolute cowards in it. They embellish it, and by the end, Falstaff is claiming that he's fighting off 100 men alone, and so it's kind of a funny scene. Amazing. And Trump was very reminiscent of that. Also, I couldn't help but notice that the entire Easter parade yesterday, Simon, or it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, is literally an Adam Curtis film waiting to be made. I mean, if you could imagine, just imagine the Curto, his that bold title comes up or whatever the title for the episode is, you know,
Yeah.
and then it starts, right? Let me just start the video. Donald Trump believed he could have won the Iran war. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away at the Rand Corporation, etc., etc. I mean, it's lit. Isn't this very Curtisian?
I think Curtis is looking at this. He's down in the vaults of the BBC. He's on the big computer where you take all the archive. He's running through the QuickTime files very fast. He's looking at the volume of stuff. He can't believe his luck, and yet he's shaking his head and saying, "It's all so great. It's almost too obvious, you know, for him to use because it's all so brilliantly mad and chaotic."
I mean, have you seen this footage, Hat? I mean, let me just show you where this ends up, this footage, okay? Because Trump gave a speech with the Easter Bunny. Can you see that? Look.
Yes, I did actually watch your stream on it, and I was well, I'll talk about it a bit later, but I was appalled. I just couldn't get over why any of this has to happen.
I'd like to introduce my new Joint Chiefs of Staff.
I mean, I don't want to go down too much of a kind of kooky rabbit hole, but Easter Bunny hole.
Hey.
But you know, there's all this talk about like Antichrist and so on. Have you noticed that Trump has been doing a lot of like deliberate blaspheming recently? At one point over Easter, he said, "Oh, you know, and you know, Jesus, they called him the king. Now they call me the king." Right? That was one of the lines that he gave.
Yeah.
Which just, I mean, I'm not a Christian, but that doesn't strike me as a very kind of Christian sort of thing to say.
Well, the one that really got me, because you almost couldn't have written it as satire. It's so awful. Was and our pilot, he was downed on Friday, on the Friday before Easter. For Saturday, he was missing and lost, and on Easter Sunday, we brought him back.
Yeah, it's literally the greatest story ever told. You know. Yeah.
Shocking.
I mean, but is this not Antichrist-y sort of behavior, though? Huh? Is this not like
it is? But it's just, if the Antichrist did appear, I would imagine him to be more competent and evil. I mean, I was watching that film Angel Hearts the other day. You know, the one where Mickey Rourke has to go to New Orleans to solve a crime, and Robert De Niro is the devil. And I would hope it would be more of that kind of a situation than, you know, a sort of mentally feeble paedophile launching wars against small countries and then losing. You know, I would hope it'd be more than that. And yeah, just the fact that the Easter Bunny was there. I mean, can you imagine, you know, just being somebody in China, or being that foreign minister in Iran, or, you know, being Putin, or even just being Macron, or, you know, Ursula von der Leyen, and just seeing Trump stood there with the rabbit, you know?
Yeah.
On Easter, it's just strange. I mean, I don't understand quite how it got to this point, really. I feel quite disturbed for the first time, reading the news since becoming so cynical. I just all of a sudden feel, oh God, we're at a whole nother level here. And of course, I think it goes without saying, something that's really been horrifying me this whole time is that all this is rather burying what's going on in Cuba, where he's basically just starving Cuba to death. Try and get another cheap win. I've heard some real horror stories coming out of there.
One of the things that we must discuss before we get onto Curtis this week is the ceasefire itself. Okay, I know I did put out a video on it where to cut a long story short, I don't expect everybody to watch that video already because I only put it out an hour ago. But I said that basically I believe that the pilot rescue story was a load of old baloney, and that it was actually a failed special mission. Okay. And that when that mission failed, and the New York Times put out that article basically exposing the fact that it was Netanyahu's overselling of the war, the pitch of the Mossad boss, Trump ignoring the advice of General Kane, Trump ignoring the advice of his own CIA director, John Ratcliffe, that Rubio was against it, Vance was against it, etc. I mean, that an article like that does not get published in the New York Times, the newspaper of record in America, by accident, right? And I think the combination of those two things, coupled with the small detail that everybody missed, which is that the Israelis last night bombed Iranian railway, but the railway they bombed was Chinese Belt and Road Railway that they spent $40 billion on. Okay, so if people are wondering, well, how come Iran has come to the table when the Israelis bombed the Belt and Road Railway? That was a red line for the Chinese. That's how the Chinese got involved via Pakistan, and why the Iranians have come to the table, because the Belt and Road infrastructure is being hit, and this is unacceptable cost to the Chinese. And the combination of these factors has created this ceasefire situation. And obviously the Zios are currently fuming. Laura Loomer fuming, Mark Levin is fuming. It's been quite entertaining to watch the meltdown in the Knesset and in Israel and so on. And did you see that Nicholas Licksack on Twitter, Simon?
What's he done? No, what's he done now?
Licksack put up this post saying that he knows 3 Iranians who are suicidal. 3 Iranians are suicidal at what Trump has done. Can't believe
Can
it.
we name them? What are their names?
No. I don't.
Mayor Tusi.
Mayor Tusi is one of them. So, I mean, clearly they're not very happy, or at least they're performatively, there's a lot of performative outrage from the Israeli side. Do we think that this has any chance of holding whatsoever, or is it just yet another sneak attack opportunity for the dastardly Israelis? Horace, your thoughts. I'll go to you first.
I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, now you say it, probably is just to sort of give themselves time, and then probably do some other snide, dirty tactics. Yeah, you're probably right.
Any thoughts, Hat?
To be honest, I really just don't know, because I haven't heard anything from Israel. I'm a little bit behind on that aspect of this, because I was up very early this morning and I happened to see people talking about the 10-point plan, which has now been confirmed. And of course, the huge elephant in the room there is, well, how does this? What happens to Israel as a function of this? Because is this specifically a ceasefire between America and Iran, or is it a general ceasefire? I mean, I know there's that clause about the Israelis have to stop attacking Lebanon.
Well, this is not clear, and it seems like one of the reasons the Israelis are enraged is because they weren't even consulted. This was announced without their blessing, you could say.
Yes, it was brokered through Pakistan, I believe, wasn't it?
Yes.
Interestingly, the email from the Pakistani PM seems to suggest he was given the statement to post by someone else.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there was that little detail too. I mean, as I said in the video earlier, I think there's a lot of material at this point to suggest that the entire system is gearing up to throw Netanyahu under the bus, and to make Pete Hegseth a fall guy who will probably go to jail, and possibly even Trump himself. And that a lot of the raging from Robert Barnes and Tucker Carlson and so on is basically to prepare the ground for President J.D. Vance. That's what I'm kind of... That's one... Imagine there's sliding doors, right? One sliding door scenario is that scenario where the American deep state finally cut the apron strings of Israel. Netanyahu takes the fall. The opposition forces in Israel, become the government there. They get normalized. And Trump gets 25th Amendment. We get President J.D. Vance, something like that. There's certainly been enough narrative, scene setting, mainstream media seeding of this idea. I noticed, for example, the Daily Mail immediately is painting this as a loss for America, and the New York Times article. I mean, what's going on? Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal and all these characters, and the Judge Knapp crew. I just feel like they're manufacturing consent and priming for everybody to accept the fact that Trump needs to go, and that will accept Vance being the president, something like this.
If I may just chuck something in, actually, just briefly. I was listening to LBC this morning. Dogface Gremlin is away, as you said, and Lewis Goodall is standing in. But I must admit, Lewis Goodall was on good form today.
Can I just say, though, isn't it upsetting that the Dogface Gremlin is of all weeks?
Oh yeah.
I was awaiting
the monologue,
a snarling monologue rant as the number one LBC fan of the country. But anyway, carry on. So
Lewis Goodall's good this morning. He gave Jake Wallace-Simons a very hard time. So you kind of had a begrudging admiration that Goodall kind of knows his onions in many ways and is very good and is across a lot of stuff. But they also had a caller, an Israeli lady calling in to talk about the current situation, and she said the polling in Israel in favor of the war was very strong. It has dropped 20 points, which is quite significant, and there is a lot of ferment and talk about.
Is that literally just because they're being bombed every day?
Most likely, but there's a lot of talk about the pressure now increasing on Netanyahu domestically in that way.
Well,
there's loads of other domestic politics factors in Israel that, there's loads of people who want to take him down anyway, aren't there?
Yeah,
he's he's only there because the way they patch their governments together. They've got a fully PR parliament, haven't they?
Yeah, and it's. Sorry. I mean, what I'm saying about that is that we obviously that story's been on running for a long time about the pressure on him to go, people trying to shaft him, get him into court, all that sort of stuff. But this time, it almost feels like Trump has gone out and he's made the apologia. And I'm reminded at that point, that this sort of dual relationship between Trump and Netanyahu, seeing one as the servant of the other, but it may sort of get to the end of the line for Trump. And I was reminded of the famous saying about JFK in the 60s when, somebody in the cabinet screwed up. He famously said to them, if this was England and I was the prime minister, I'd have to resign. But this is America and I'm the president, so you have to resign.
Interesting.
So there's always a sense that the president, literally, the buck stops here. So maybe for Trump, it'll be one thing where he'll tell Netanyahu to go to hell and maybe then feed him as much.
I put out this thing last night of how Trump could save his presidency from this point, because it really looks very over for the Trump presidency. I mean, he tacoed, but he still, the tweet he sent, I know it's kind of overdone, decorum, bringing down the office and so on. But he's the president of America. So to tweet that out was, even during World War II, even in the lead up to Hiroshima, nobody made a statement like that. You know what I mean? Even FDR, even Fat Pig Churchill never said anything quite that grotesque that he said.
Oh, even that gaffe he did to the Even that gaffe he did to the Japanese Prime Minister the other week about, you Japanese know about surprises. And it's I know. Oh.
But I still think that Trump, if he takes the steps I said, those 3 steps are immediately fire Pete Hegseth and put him in jail and make him own the war, right? Basically make, this is very Machiavellian, but make Hegseth the fall guy. Exile Witkoff and Kushner so they are never seen again. Right, that they literally get, that Stalin photo where they just disappear Witkoff and Kushner, so the public just never sees or hears from those 2 guys ever again. And the third thing is just to tell Netanyahu, look, we tried your plan was shit, it didn't work, it's failed, it's embarrassed us. Okay, I cannot expend any more capital on you. Now's the time that we part ways. Good luck, right? If he did that, I reckon Trump could save his presidency. What do you guys think? I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying that's what he could do to save it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm curious as to the problem around Netanyahu, because so far the relationship has been observed to be one of civility. From Trump towards Netanyahu, it would have to basically break with all his characters so far to try and move against Netanyahu, because there seems to be some implication. Obviously, we don't know if this is true. That Netanyahu just has something over Trump, some kind of leverage that would stop that.
I mean, he would have to break Trump's law, because if you read the New York Times article, the one thing that is consistent throughout it is that Trump's law at no point was broken. That at every point, there's even a point made that of all the people, Trump was the most bloodthirsty. He wanted it the most, type thing. But we also have to keep in mind that the like, if Trump truly is evil, which appears to be the case, I mean, how many times have we seen it where you know, did you ever hear the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? You know, he could Sidious, he could pull a Palpatine on Netanyahu. I'm the master now. You know what I mean?
Well, he could, but again, it just that if what we believe to be true about those two is true, then I can't see there's a way for that to happen. I mean, we also should point out two things in regards to quote unquote going back to normal for Trump now. One is that the Epstein files haven't gone away. I mean, they haven't been on the headlines, but they haven't gone away. They're still there. Bill Gates is being called in to testify, which will bring some attention back to it. And of course, there's been some recent disagreements just in the last few hours where Trump has started doing this thing again of claiming that Iran has said something they haven't said. So, according to Trump, Iran has agreed to get rid of its uranium, and Tehran has basically said no, we haven't agreed to that actually. So,
here we go again.
Don't know what this whole thing of just announcing the Iranians have said something. I don't understand how that's supposed to work. I mean, I have a theory, as many people do, that kind of Zionist lobby, the kind of Hegseth Witkoff thing, they've formed a big wall around him in the heart of America, and they're just controlling whatever gets to him. They're just telling him things that blatantly aren't true, and they're telling him he's doing a really good job, and
I think that's right. That is often how I think Zionists especially operate. Like they try and take full control of all access and communication.
But the problem is that story is undermined by the New York Times, where it is explicit plot points in the New York Times article that Trump was explicitly told by the director of the CIA, by the head of his army, General, what's his name, Raising Kane, right? General Kane, and by Marco Rubio, that this would not work. And that Trump, because of his megalomania, does not want to hear things that go against what he wants to hear, right? So if it, like, you can give Trump, if you tell Trump the wrong answer, he doesn't want to hear it. He only wanted to hear from those voices like Witkoff and Kushner and Pete Hegseth and Netanyahu, who were telling the things that he wanted to hear already. Does that make sense? So it's like, I feel like there's too much protection of the king going on for some reason still, and I don't understand that. This is what Fuentes has criticized Tucker Carlson for. It's like, why are you still doing this protection of the king nonsense when it's clear that Trump himself is evil, that Trump himself is the issue? And this is what I mean. Maybe it's one of those cope things, or one of those things where it's like, well, because Trump is the leader, he's the one you have to get to, type thing. But do you know what I mean? I feel like the Theoden narrative takes too much away from the fact that Trump himself seems to be a psycho and has this problem where he doesn't want to hear any countervailing narratives in his own mind, almost like a child.
Why not both? What Hat said, because I think that, like, Zionists generally, like, it's sort of the Zionist way of doing politics is to try and get rid of anyone who will gainsay them from around the leaders. So there's just one paradigm always being heard. But also, I do think that's true of Trump, that he, I mean, for whatever reasons, psychological reasons, but he decided on his course a long time ago, and he doesn't want to hear from anyone who says it's not possible. He also just doesn't like hearing it's not possible in general, I think, all through his life, right? He's a rich boy, he's a bully, he's used to getting things done in spite of morality, in spite of the law or anything. I think both those things are true. He would get rid of. He would also keep people around him who he sees as naysayers. Sorry, get them away from him. Anyone who just tries to say this is actually going to have bad consequences, he just doesn't want to hear it. But I think he also gets confronted by people who are telling him this could literally get you in prison. I think he does eventually listen to that as well.
I should mention that influence of the show, Simon, the black pill philosopher John Gray has just written the cover story of the New Statesman with this image. It's called The Fall: How Donald Trump Destroyed the American Empire by John Gray. So that's that'll be interesting. Again, future Adam Curtis documentary waiting to be made. Just read that essay over the images of the Easter Bunny that I mentioned earlier, with some Aphex Twin in the background. Bob's your uncle.
It's interesting in regards to our previous thoughts on Trump maybe being a sort of Gorbachev type figure, when in reality he was the one prior to Gorbachev who was fighting in Afghanistan and doing all those late Soviet wars.
Or Andropov.
Andropov. Yeah, Trump more of an Andropov, in fact.
I think he's more. I honestly think he's more of a Yeltsin. I think the Gorbachev was Biden, and I think and Trump is the Yeltsin. That's my personal.
Yeah, he's more like Nero right now.
To be fair, if any one of them would have appeared with the Easter Bunny, it would have been Yeltsin. So
Yeah,
I really think Trump like just his whole life. I think I said this last week, but his whole life he's just seen it as completely normal to work with criminals and Zionists, right? And various this synagogue, that Zionist organization and stuff, and to get to power, in your 70s and 80s, and then to be told that you can't do everything that they want, having treated them as friends all your life, it's annoying. It's offensive to him personally. I think it's like these people have been my partners all my life. I think it's that as well. I know that sounds strange, like that he would have fealty, but I think a lot like people who I just consider sort of Zion aligned politicians like Winston Churchill, they actually don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
They think it's completely normal.
It's a mafia notion of loyalty.
Right. It's kind of low in that sense,
But by the way, if our analysis stands, this would mean that JD Vance is American Putin.
I really, really don't look forward to that little prick being. He seems like a bad character.
I mean, what? I mean, surely at this point there is no choice but kind of sensible centrist, quote unquote, Democrat, right? It's going to be some
Gavin
Newsom type.
Yeah, but we're talking about the prospect of JD Vance coming in as the VP, replacing
Trump gets removed.
Replacing Trump in a straitjacket, basically.
I was wondering, if Trump might have sort of health problems and wants to spend more time with his family now, something like that.
Not the speech that I reviewed yesterday, but did you see the Wednesday speech from last week? He was like brain-addled, drugged in that speech. The one that he gave on Wednesday, slurring his words, and he was all over the place in that one. Anyway, just before we start on Curto, there are two little memes I want to show you. One of them greatly amused little AAA last night when I showed her this, and that is that on Substack, this woman, Mia Lee, who I assume is actually a young man, as all young as
the
all
online
people,
right,
as all many avatars are secretly men, right? But it says, I look like a teddy bear, right? And I just put that out, and that of course led people to meme me as a teddy bear, and this particular image here had AAA in stitches last night. So there we are. I thought I'd share that. And then just before we came on air, somebody's made this, I assume to be AI generated comic book story, which is notable for the fact that in a weird way it captures like
it's literally me.
The essence of the lodge. Like the lodge really does look
It does
It
look
actually-
like that.
It does look like that. It's like those are my books, and I do have that
The
table,
door.
and
Yeah.
the door looks like that, and I mean, a few other little details, but it's kind of interesting. And I did have a coffee this morning before I.
It's
before I drove
possible
here.
you've been infiltrated down there. Those guys with the leaf blowers are Pimlico agents.
Yeah,
Centre.
notice that they're not actually blowing any leaves, and they keep glancing over at your logs. Like they're not the real deal.
So anyway, I don't know. I don't know how they managed it, but they captured like
The misanthropy in the bottom left corner as well. Yeah.
and that is very similar to the tweed jacket I've been wearing recently.
Yeah.
So they must have used that's the actual black t-shirt I wear.
Particular
so the
attention to the bookshelf. Yeah.
Attention to detail. Look, you can actually see the Carlisles there.
Yeah.
This is very good AI imagery. Anyway, so
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean that bear was especially good. It kind of makes me yearn for a sort of Andy Pandy version of this show where we sort of like live animation. We all just appear as little characters. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
would you be
you'd have-
would you be like a little gollywog?
I would. I was about to say that. Yes, be a little gollywog. Horus,
I mean,
Horus would be like a policeman. Like a sort of Bobby.
Don't take this the wrong way, but if you ever watched risible 1980s cartoon Raggy Dolls, Panama Hat,
Only through this channel.
I think you'd be Sad Sack.
Oh, come on.
I think you'd be Sad Sack.
Not
Brutal.
true. That's not
Right,
true,
but,
though,
well,
is it?
think of it. Sad Sack was a very the whole thing with Sad Sack is that he was in the reject bin for being too expensive, right? So he was he was a too expensive doll, and he had big curly hair, and I don't know. I just think you'd be.
I'm too
I mean,
expensive.
You'd be more Sad Sack than Dottie or Back to Front or the French Dweeb or anything.
I was thinking, who's the French one? Oh, he's just
Claude. Claude.
Claude, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
French dweeb. It's a good pub in Soho there.
I don't know who Simon would be.
Yeah.
I would just be the narrator. He's got that wise, knowing
Do you reckon?
voice.
As a children's show character, I don't know. Probably Bagpuss by the look of my face right now.
All right. Who was your favorite character on Rainbow then? Hey?
To be honest, I thought Zippy was a twat. So I kind of like George, who was very gay. I like Bungle, sensible. Bungle was very sensible and centered.
Yeah.
Bungle was just annoying.
But
Kindly Bungle.
a little bit avant-garde. I liked Freddy of Rod, Jane and Freddy fame, which is the one with the moustache, the one with kind of curly hair
Well,
moustache.
that's after my time, I think.
Yeah, well, they were like a trio of singers that came in, and it was never quite clear what the relationship between the three of them was. But I mean, I'm assuming Rod and Jane were the couple, and that Freddie was like the third wheel. But it was kind of strange setup there, of course.
Jane was a certain chair.
Simon would almost certainly be Jeffrey, of course.
I think I might like to be the mayor from Trumpton, sort of gently keeping order.
In the Raggy Dolls frame, you'd be Dottie.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. Because Dottie would be the one being like, "Come on, there's a documentary. Come on, there's a documentary to review. We must move forward." And anyway.
Monitor.
Right. Shall we make a start? Let's make a start.
Just briefly want to say thank you to T-Dog574 in the chat. Yes, my JFK anecdote, he was referring to Alan Dulles, then director of the CIA, who he sacked. Some people speculate possibly a reason why JFK then lost a bit of his head later on.
If I'm going to show you Rod, Jane and Freddie, so you can see who I'm on. In fact, there's the whole Rainbow cast there. Oh my goodness. Hold on a second. Apparently Freddie changes. The person who was the guy, there was a different Freddie originally. Didn't know that. Interesting. There they are. There's the Rainbow crew. Tell you what, Jane is a lot older than I thought she was. I thought Jane was like 20-year-old.
Are you sharing?
Yep.
You see it?
Ah.
So there's Zippy in the top right, George at the top left, Bungle, the sensible centrist,
Yeah.
Jeffrey on the right there, Rod is on the left, Jane is there, and Freddie is bottom right. So one of those things where when I was a kid, in my imagination, Jane was like 20 years old. She
Mm.
must be about 45.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
aged badly. Plenty in your mind too.
I mean, what is
Yeah.
what is Zippy actually supposed to be? Because obviously, you know, Bungle's a bear, George is a hippo, Jeffrey's a human. What is Zippy?
He's some sort of sadist.
Amorphous blob of hatred. And
I have to say, I was more of a Pipkins man. I liked Hartley the Hare. He was a kind of manky-looking kind of hare who was basically a stand-in for Larry Grayson, who was a popular camp TV presenter of the time.
Rainbow.
I'm looking into what actually is Zippy. That's a question that's never occurred to me.
Sure, there's no proper answer to that. It's just it's like a hand.
Zippy.
It says
Yeah.
he's large. He's a loud-mouthed orange rugby ball-shaped puppet character of unknown species.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he's-
If there was a rainbow wiki page, his under species, it'd just be unknown.
unknown.
Rainbow obviously has been, is a symbol. A rainbow itself is a lovely thing, but it's a symbol that's been appropriated by other causes, isn't it? And I
Perverted.
don't mean the Admiral Duncan. I mean the Noahide laws. But anyway, let's move on.
When I was a kid, Rainbow was literally the story of the Ark, Noah and the Ark. That was when obviously that was the show Rainbow, but the primary association that I had with it was the animals went in 2x2.
Hmm.
There was like a rainbow associated with that story.
That's where the Noahide laws got that symbol from, because they're named after Noah.
Right.
It's
But then
supposed to be laws given to the Gentiles by the chosen to live by under their rule.
You mean a kind of noble lie situation?
I'm
one
not kidding.
for
I'm
you,
not,
another
I'm
for
not making
me.
this up. Yeah, exactly. We rule. You follow these laws. Yeah, it is as simple as that. And the symbol is the rainbow.
And now, of course, it means pride in sexuality, multiple sexualities, or it did for a period.
Pride in anything other than just having sex and having children.
Do you remember during COVID, there was also the NHS rainbow for a period?
Mm.
That was strange. That was another weird one. But,
I don't
anyway.
remember that. I remember the pots and
You'd
pans.
see them in people's windows. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. People would put like an NHS rainbow in their window.
That's right.
Oh,
During
that reminds me, right? But I think I did see that, but before that, there was a little bit of forest I used to walk through during that time, and it was right by some houses. Somebody's kid, I think, or like a kid directed by their parents, had built a little shrine in the woods to the NHS, and I'm not joking. There was more than one, I think, but yeah, it was like it was literal. I'm not joking. There was worship of the NHS at that time.
It's like something out of a Ben Wheatley film, isn't it? You go to the like British folk horror. You go to the woods and they're worshipping the NHS gods and sacrificing people.
And this is why the NHS was like turning everyone away, obviously, because they were too busy doing TikTok dances.
I did see that there's been a substantial reduction in waiting times for the NHS under Comrade Starmer. So yeah, another job quietly done well.
But probably not really, though. I mean,
it's gone down. The waiting list for the NHS has gone down from 11 million to 7 million.
yeah, but whatever. I mean, like, you can't say that's government stats. Are you kidding me? Like, come on. These guys are fucking Blairite. Like, anyway, just watch All Watched Over by Machines That Live in Grace again.
This is the problem with the right. They cannot accept any statistics.
Yeah.
Right deviation.
Yeah. In office hours, you referred to me as like bringing the right-eyed schizoid energy or something.
Well, you definitely not schizoid, but there's definitely rightoid. There's definitely right deviation in you, Horace. You are the Bukharanite on the.
Oh, is this what? So rightoid just means anything now, like anything that's not Stalinist. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I do. I hate what you describe as the rightoids, but now you're using it against me.
There is good in Horus. I can feel it.
What I'm saying is, look, it's the need to have to reframe any successes under, for example, this Labour government, like the 70% reduction in net immigration and the reduction from 11 million to 7 million on the NHS waiting list and various other successes the government had, to just want to then dismiss that statistic out of hand or explain it away in a reflexive manner because it's a left-wing government. That's what I'm getting at.
It's because it's statistics. Like, I can't believe the credulity people give to government statistics or just statistics in general. It's the worst. It's not a science. It's like hardly anyone is producing accurate stats of anything. The only things, obviously, that you can create accurate stats are of distinctly countable things. And even then, obviously, like most things are just changing all the time. Government stats are bollocks. Surely I don't have to argue this. Like, all government stats are just bullshit, and especially to the extent that politicians have any influence over them, which they do.
I mean,
Sorry, I have to say slightly. I just side with Horus on the waiting list issue. I've been waiting for something since February, and I have a suspicion they're managing the waiting list by just not responding to you when
you're one of the 7 million.
It's just how many emails they've sent back or something. It's just nothing.
You're one of the 7 million. Now, I'm perfectly willing to grant that they've just said to 4 million people, look, you guys can just die.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I am willing to say that they've cooked the books in some way like that, i.e. they haven't actually reduced them. They've just said, we're not going to count these people anymore, right? By some redefinition in the stats. But it's still, it exists as a stat that it's 7 million people as opposed to 11 million.
No, it's not. It's nothing. It's just a claim.
Trust Comrade Starmer, folks.
Do you not remember Blair? Like, we took in an earlier Curto, Blair, like one of Blair's government's achievements was literally just by taking the wheels off of fucking beds in the corridors.
Gaming the targets, yeah.
Right. It does, yeah. Because often it's the middling people because they're given the targets and they can't achieve them.
Yeah.
So they just cheat to not be in trouble. It's the same as the Soviet system.
Trust the plan.
Same as the Soviet system that AA wants back in Britain and all of Europe under one federal Soviet Europe. The EU SSR. Let's go. Let's start cutting.
I saw a map before I came on air of a new EU, which includes Canada as part of the EU. See that map? I think if see if I can find this. Because as you can imagine,
is that a bit like Israel in Eurovision?
Pro EU sentiment, especially among libtards. They're feeling very emboldened at the moment, owing to the crash out of Trump and the torching of American credibility and so on. But I can't find it. I tell you what, Twitter is impossible to find things on now, isn't it? It's just impossible to find. But so if you can imagine, somebody made a map of the world, and the world is like it's an overhead shot, like from the North Pole. And it's got like the entire northern hemisphere, apart from America, as EU, with an EU flag on
Russia.
it.
No, Russia.
And Russia not included, obviously not. So anyway,
Simon, Israel are allowed in UEFA as well, the European Football Confederation.
Wow.
I mean,
because apparently years ago, clubs from Asia, as in Western Asia, as in Arab countries, refused to play them, so they were allowed to join UEFA, which is ridiculous. They're definitely not in Europe in any way. But what happens if they get to a World Cup and they're drawn against Iran or Syria or Iraq are in it this year? Jordan are in it this year? It's mad. I don't know how they get away with that shit.
There'll be interesting scenes in the stands, I imagine.
This World Cup is likely to be more politicized. I mean, politics doesn't actually usually come into it. America have played Iran in the World Cup 2 or 3 World Cups ago. Nothing happens because it's just sports people. But there is a major, because Iran are in the World Cup as it stands. Iran are due to go to the World Cup in a couple of months.
Yeah,
but their officials have said different things. Israel never qualify for anything. They're total shit.
Yeah, they got hammered by Italy, I believe. In the
Italy failed to qualify as well.
Yeah. Just before, I don't want to devolve into too much slop, but I would like to touch on one more thing before we get started. Sorry, Simon.
No.
We will,
it's a nice day. I'm up for a bit of slop today.
I think we should. I think we should cover this story. While we're talking about the World Cup, one thing I've got fond memories of is the whole meme of Sven Goran Eriksson. Do you remember him, Horace? Sven Goran Eriksson, of saying the World Cup. The World Cup. That was the World Cup. I think that was like a Harry Enfield sketch, or I think there was that show Monkey Dust that had a Sven Gore
yeah.
Eriksson character, and he
Mm.
was always
and
on.
There was
Yeah,
that.
go
Was
on.
it Alistair McIntyre and Rona? Someone. They did
Yeah,
a
Alistair
impression of
McIntyre had a Sven impression, and it was all just the same. It was all just him being the World Cup and shagging Eureka Johnson.
Mm.
That was the whole. That was a
But
better
then,
day.
didn't he? Did he cheat on her for Faria Alam or something? The woman at the,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Arab woman at the FA. It was just a long time
Secretary
ago.
at the FA, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, she had bigger jugs than Ulrika, so that's why.
Yeah, Sven was a bit of a stud, really. And then there was the whole scandal of him allowing the WAGs to come. Like, do you remember the WAGs? That was that whole thing, like Victoria Beckham and the whole circus around. And then, do you remember when they brought in Fabio Capello,
Mhm.
the hard Italian hard man,
Yeah.
who then immediately banned the WAGs, and everybody, all the players were crying and saying like, "Oh, this is outdated, chauvinism and all this sort of stuff." But I kind of enjoyed that whole era of Fabio Capello just being like,
Oh.
sod it. You need discipline.
Yeah, but he didn't fix anything, did he? He was crap as well.
Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. Unfortunately, the ship had sailed, and then was it at one point they brought in old Y Hodgson,
For years.
who was about like
Yeah, he was in
80 years old or something. I mean, that was bizarre
Yeah, he
as
was-
well.
He was in for like 4 years or something. He was even worse. I think he was probably the worst spell for England. They were like terrible, dreadful.
And there was that period where like Sam Allardyce was manager for a day. Do you remember that?
Okay.
They brought
Yeah.
him. Was that before or after Hodgson? It's bizarre. Anyway,
That was well before. They did like a fake shake thing on him, didn't they? They caught him
That was
saying
it.
something improper and got rid of
and
him.
then was it literally just Southgate after Hodgson forever? Then was that?
Southgate, yeah, until 2 years, 2 years ago, I think. Southgate was a great success. He's the worst lefty SJW sort of dickhead, but he was the best manager for years. He did a great job. He revived. England are good again now. They're contenders again now. Thanks to him.
The only football-related trivia I can put in here is that I know that Julia Hartley-Brewer's husband looks like Jurgen Klopp. A slightly weedier version.
Jurgen Klopp's all right. He's a decent-looking man.
That's who she compares him to.
Talking about this has reminded me why I stopped watching football. Right, I stopped watching football, and I'm not making this up, because football became left wing. I feel like the era of Southgate coming in and Jurgen Klopp coming in at Liverpool, and Guardiola in general, I just feel like it's all left coded.
Was
all
this
like
Harry Kane. Harry Kane
this-
is a massive lefty as well.
But
Manuel
was this
Neuer,
all
the German
before?
goalie.
But was this before the sort of Blair revolution of making football middle class? Is that
Well
what-
after, long after.
no, this is like
No.
fairly. This was like kind of peak BLM SJW era.
Right.
Earlier.
And a little bit before, and there was a whole like the Guardian football. I used to listen to the Guardian football quite a lot. It was the best football show. They had the best analysts, and it all became extremely tactical and nerdy and so on. But owing to the Guardian's superior football coverage, being a football fan in itself kind of became more left coded over time. It then
I've seen-
somehow snowballed into like loving Jurgen Klopp and people like this who are, as far as I can tell, just massive lefties.
Like Gary Neville is another one as well. Yeah, the Germany captain Manuel Neuer is another one. He's a massive lefty. There's loads now. Yeah, it's become like fashionable among football players to proclaim your lefty views. Sometimes hypocritically, like Gary Neville. But but just remember that the kicking racism out of football stuff that goes back to the 90s or 80s. Like there is traces of it back.
What I'm talking about though is like, when we were talking about Fabio Capello as a hard man. Now I don't know what Fabio Capello's politics are, right? But the very fact that he was a disciplinarian who's like respect hierarchy, or I mean, you can say what you want about Jose Mourinho, right? But the fact that he was kind of pragmatic and heelish and so on, I don't know. Like I felt that all those sorts of characters, and even Sam Allardyce in a way, all those characters are kind of like in the same way that Marco Pierre White, Simon, is right coded. All those characters in football were right coded, but football overall somehow became left coded, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I always felt, for example, that if Jose Mourinho was right coded, somebody like Arsene Wenger was left coded, right? This idea that football needs to be played in a certain way. You know, I have a philosophy. It's all about the system and all this sort of stuff. You know, and taking losses for ideological purity. That was like Wenger's whole philosophy. And I feel like I don't know. I don't know. It was around the time that Spain became dominant. I would say was the rise of this. What I'm talking about. But anyway, we've gone off on quite a big tangent there. There's one thing I want to mention just before we start, and that is I would like to wish all the best luck and success to Reform's newest candidate, Toriola Coker, who is running in the Southampton and Bannister and Polgan ward. He is a Nigerian national who was, I saw, was a director of a company for about 6 days at some point in the past 5 years, where his nationality is listed as Nigerian. And I think he's exactly the sort of character that Nigel Farage needs as part of his burgeoning team.
Absolutely. More of this, please.
So, yeah. All right. Let's start.
I love how your eyes close whenever you kiss me, and when I'm away from you, I love how you miss me. I love the way you always
Pause, please.
treat me.
Oh, it's Panama today with a very
Well,
quick pause.
I had to point it out. In fact, I wish I'd paused it a few seconds earlier, because the most hilarious thing about that scene was the fact that behind Putin, who is obviously famously quite a short man, you could see a waxwork of Peter the Great, who was gigantic,
Yes.
famously.
You
And
do see this.
Yeah, sort of midget Peter.
You
behind
do see
Peter's
this. I
head.
looked around for these particular waxworks. I couldn't figure out where they were from. It's probably the museum in St. Petersburg. But as you say, there are displays with Putin, and Peter the Great is enormous. He's about 7 foot tall.
Yeah,
as he's depicted.
Yeah, he was famously, even for the time, towering over people. Gigantic.
Most men in history are called the Great for their deeds, but he was literally just like Peter the Great because he's a great big man. You are
Peter the big fella.
even before he did anything, like he was already called that.
Yeah.
Isn't there's a Welsh? Sorry,
Go on. You go on.
There's a Welsh figure of legend called Rodri Mawr, isn't there? Which means big or great Rodri the Great.
That's right.
Do you know about him?
Yeah, I think he cropped up in one of those myths and legends I read back in the day. That was one of my ill-fated series, which nobody watched. But this is the trouble.
He may even be mythical, but I just imagine him as a massive guy as well. Big, long Celtic limbs or something.
Yeah, well, because the name Maur works both as a great, and also he was probably massive as well. Yes, he was king of I can't remember now. King of Gwynedd, I think. No, Barry Island. No.
As a long-term Crusader Kings 2 player who always starts in Glamorgan, I scoff as someone only being the King of Gwynedd. What you haven't even managed to unite Wales at this point,
Create the Kingdom of Wales, right? From the
that's the first thing you have to do is to create the Kingdom of Wales, and then typically I will go and try to either conquer Ireland or even Iceland and build up the Welsh Empire to invade England eventually.
Anyone who hasn't played Crusader Kings 2, that is a genuinely brilliant game. Absolutely great.
Yeah, one of the best games of all time. But as a result of it being so good, I've said many times it is too good to play. And when I say that, I've only played it maybe 3 or 4 times in my life for us. But those times I have played it, I played it for 72 hours straight without sleeping, including calling in sick to work and shit like that. Yeah.
We're not talking about Football Manager. We're talking about Crusader Kings.
Yeah, Crusader Kings is genuinely too. I mean, that is the only game that has caused me to pull a sickie because I'm playing it. Yeah.
Oh, I never got that bad. Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Tenderly, but darling, most of all, I love how you love me.
And you know, if you have played those sort of games, it's very hard not to watch stuff that's happening at the moment because it's so civilizational in those terms. And I often think about what Netanyahu's game would look like. I mean, you've got those ratings where you get like popularity ratings. Like he's managed to get like -100 with every other person in the entire game has got -100 on Netanyahu. Nobody will talk. You've pissed off all your neighbors. You get those pop-up screen. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with the captures? I'll kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. It's just, it's kind of, it is kind of mental when you think about what's happening in those sorts of terms.
I wonder how they'll factor this period into games, because I've often sort of suspected a lot of people in these circles hereabouts, are introduced to a lot of ideas about geopolitics through playing some of these very, good and complicated civilizational games. And I wonder if these games have programmed into them these factors for, a leader just going off the rails in the way that, we're seeing at the moment. Does it have these kind of more randomized things, or does it all kind of build in a plausible way, rules of politics?
Crusader Kings is unique in so much as you don't simply play as your faction, you play as a character. So you play as an individual person, and there are hundreds of people in there. You have to populate a core, you have to put the people in your cabinet and so on, and you also have to sire heirs and try to maneuver things in such a way that there's not an inheritance crisis and so on. And again, the current situation, it's hard not to believe, for example, that when the Ayatollah was killed and replaced with a new Ayatollah, which was a very Crusader King sort of thing, that he hasn't got, like, the new Ayatollah hasn't got traits like kind of maimed or, crazy or whatever. And also that Donald Trump himself would have a lot of these things where, you can have he's gone insane, which gives you like -20 on diplomacy and all sorts of other things. And it's like we're watching exactly these sorts of things play out, I mean, if it was Netanyahu in that game, he'd probably be part of some secret cult. It'd be like dark occultist, secret order in the background or whatever. But yeah.
I was playing it once, and my character got all the 7 deadly sins at once as traits, and it made like the earth open up, a door, a gateway to hell or something. It's only happened to me once. But yeah,
I've never seen that.
I imagine Trump has got like 6 of them, and he's just fending off the 7th, But goodness knows.
I feel like Putin in that same game would get the trait that gives you like +10 for stewardship or whatever. I think he's probably like, or what's the thing where you've been in power for a long time, so you get like bonuses to various. I think he'd have that trait where you get like a long leader bonus. He'd have all sorts of buffs for those sort.
Long reign.
Long reign, but he'd also have paranoid as a trait, which gives you a few penalties here and there as well.
And his spy master would be like the best spy master, or he would be the best spy master in the world. Unfortunately, he's also king, so he can't.
Yeah, he'd have like 20 for espionage or is it intrigue?
Intrigue, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have 20 for intrigue. Yeah.
He'd have the elusive shadow trait or something like that. Pause, please.
Yeah, go on, Horace.
Did that shot of the ears remind anyone of Question of Sport? Because it did me.
Good callback to football banter there.
Excuse me.
How you did that, I don't know.
I'm also reminded another trait that Putin would have is scholarly.
Mm.
I don't know. I can't remember what buff that gives you, but he'd have scholarly as a trait, which would
He'd give 45-minute disquisitions on Russian history to
exactly
foreign leaders to baffle them.
I think that Iran or the Islamic Republic as a faction would have a special faction-wide trait where every single member of their leadership automatically gets scholarly as a trait, because it seems to be having a PhD is a prerequisite to be part of the Iranian government. So, yeah.
But darling, most of all, I love how you love me, how you love me.
And in Russia, there were those who were also trying to attack and expose the emptiness and the corruption that had taken over the society there. In 2007, members of the small National Bolshevik Party that was led by Edward Limonov burst into the finance ministry in Moscow. They wanted to make people realize the corruption of Russia hadn't gone away. It was now spreading even deeper into the society, and that Putin had to go. They were
Limonov was the guy who we dealt with a few episodes ago. Is that right?
Yes, he forms the National Bolshevik Party, which is this kind of almost sort of situationist intervention into politics, combining elements of old communism and fascism, etc., as a street movement.
And I believe he founded it. He co-founded it with Dugin, with whom he was very close friends, I believe.
Yes, and a guy called Yegor Letov, who was a kind of sort of Russian punk musician, and there was another guy, Kuryakin, as well. Yeah.
It's quite. Sorry.
No, go on.
Well, it's quite interesting because, of course, Dugin is now seen as a sort of right-hand man, at least by the Western press. A lot of people say that's not quite true, but it is interesting, that Dugin started out almost as a kind of oppositionist in that regard.
Yeah. Well, this is the interesting bit about this sequence where you've got. I mean, Curtis is making a bit of an on the nose point. Putin as a waxwork, a fake figure. He doesn't believe in anything. He is, literally being dressed by other people. That's the kind of thesis of the early part of the Putin reign. He is a creature of the oligarchs as much as anything else. And then he'll later undergo this pivot towards Russian exceptionalism. And that's where people like Dugin are going to come into their own.
Now, I have to ask, someone in the chat says Dugin would be a debuff to Putin. Do you believe that to be the case?
I don't know. I mean, he started retweeting me recently, which makes me a little bit nervous. But
Dugin?
Yeah, he's retweeted me a few times. But including when I tweeted about Populist Delusion. Every once in a while I mention it with a cover, and he retweeted that. I don't know. He's got I've started following him just to keep an eye on what he says. There's quite a bit of skits in there. In the same way that Professor Yang also has these kind of schizo hour type things. And there's a few other things that I don't quite understand. Like, for example, every once in a while he'll praise Nick Land. Mm-hmm. But if you actually see Nick Land on Twitter, he has some of the worst takes going at the moment. He's become like a kind of captive dreamer level magatard, basically. Mm-hmm. Dribbling idiot as far as I'm concerned. But he still wants to maintain this idea. And I think Dugin's basic idea is that there's how can I put this? The conservative revolution that could have happened in the mid-century, right, in Germany and in Italy and so on, perhaps that Evola was a part of, or perhaps that Schmidt wanted, was botched due to the madness or the insanity of Hitler, right? So that was like a unique moment in history that was a botched moment because of Hitler. And now there's a chance to do it again. And he saw MAGA as a chance for America to be part of this thing that Russia, Iran, and China and various other powers are part of, which is making a multipolar world that is also kind of conservative and non-progressive in orientation. That's my basic idea of what Dugin stands for. And on the face of it, I don't really have a problem with that as a basic idea. He has some funny Russian ideas, you know, as well.
Yes.
But, you know, as a basic idea, you know, I mean, up until recently, that's what Steve Turley wanted before he became completely brain-addled by this war.
I mean, I would say that to me, the most interesting idea that Dugin has come up with is his idea of superseding all the 20th century forms like liberalism and Marxism and fascism, and moving towards something based on the work of Heidegger. Now, I know that I've always been very, very pro Heidegger, but a lot of people have serious problems with him philosophically. But I think to me that is the most interesting idea, though I've got no idea how that would scale out eventually, because it's still pretty basic at the moment in his thought.
I am unfortunately not clever enough to understand what the fuck Heidegger's talking about. So whenever Heidegger comes up, I can't discuss it because I have absolutely no clue what he's talking. The Dasein and the being and the becoming. I don't know what the hell are you talking about. You know, writing plain English, son. I don't get it at all. Maybe you do, Simon, but I've never.
No, and I'll have to add my own thing about Nick Land just a few moments back. Similarly, again, like with Cummings last week, I extract, you know, their pronouncements, their political positions from the interesting ideas they may have. Nick Land may have some very interesting ideas. I don't understand them. I would love to understand them better, but at the moment, it's too obscurantist for me in the tradition of a lot of academic writing from continental philosophy.
I cannot read anything that's not written in good, solid Anglo-Saxon prose, I'm afraid. I mean, Derrida, fucking unreadable.
Yeah. Foucault,
I mean, I find Foucault easier to understand because his concepts are fairly simple to understand. Right? I mean, he's just talking about power and discourse half the time.
No, I meant the order of things. It's a whole different work, but anyway, yeah.
Oh, right. No, I get you. Okay, right. But even in order of things, what his basic point is really quite simple, which is that the way that we order something, that we see it as natural and normal, right? I mean, let's say you're looking at my bookshelf and you automatically put it in chronological order or in alphabetical order or whatever. We see that as natural and normal, and all his point is that if you're not part of our epistemic bubble, our truth regime, if you want to put, if you do not understand things in the way that we do, that order is actually arbitrary, and that other cultures, like Chinese culture, say, would order things in a different way, and to us it seems alien and arbitrary. But to them, it makes sense in the same way that ordering books alphabetically or chronologically or by color or whatever makes sense. I think that's basically it in a nutshell.
All right. Well, yeah, he manages to make that like 500 pages or something.
Yeah, because it's written in incomprehensible French wank. That's why.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
I read. Sorry, go on. You were going to finish.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times what I do is I basically translate it into my own words so that I can then understand them. And I've bothered to do that with Foucault because I was made to do him. And I've done it with Althusser and a few others. But I just have not taken the time to do it with Heidegger or Derrida or a lot of these other ones, because it's just.
I mean, to be really honest, Heidegger should have been a poet rather than a philosopher, because he'll write an enormous tome like Being and Time, and you know it is he doesn't need a certain level of complication to understand what he's to be able to put across what he's saying, but all his most revelatory moments are just like really, really well turned phrases, you know, that you'll just find.
So yeah, I mean, maybe somebody needs to write like Heidegger for idiots, or Heidegger for people who like English, or something.
There must be.
That probably stands comparison with Nick Land, doesn't it, Hat? Because I think Land writes in the context of theory fiction, as they call it.
Yes, but the problem with Nick Land is that he has a genuine sort of fetish for that type of writing, and that I think he sort of came of age in the sort of, what would it be?
The William
The
Gibson
80s,
era,
the
Neuromancer.
80s and early 90s, or everyone was writing like a sort of situationist on acid, and
Gen X.
and I think, and to be fair, he does have some good sort of artsy ways of using that type of prose, but it's just so dense. And the problem is that Nick Land's ideas just aren't that groundbreaking, like in the grand scheme of things. I just don't.
That
think they're
really
that-
rings through on Twitter. That really rings through. Like he's not saying anything smart at all.
Well, he did take a lot of drugs.
He has done some very, very, very good work in regards to what will happen with computers and AI. But it's not something that other people haven't already basically pointed out, as far as I understand.
This is where my philosophy of writing. I mean, for me, I'm of the school, and we've talked about this before, that writing should be where every sentence, in a way, is like, I mean, imagine it's a boxing match. Everyone is like a straight jab or a straight punch or a right hook. Like every single one is landing, and you understand exactly what it's saying. So that the reading of your prose should almost be like you're punching someone over and over and over and over again, so that you're landing blows and everybody understands exactly what you're talking about. They don't even have to read it twice, right? Whereas a lot of these characters that you're talking about, it's almost like expressionist jazz or something. And you know my views on fucking expressionist modal jazz. Wank! So I don't know. It's just a different. I'm playing 3-minute punk songs, and they're doing wanky jazz, and it's a very
I think
different
it's more like
style
doing,
of writing.
I think it's more like you're doing the BBC sound effects library, where you know exactly what it is, it's catalogued, scientific, and then you've got, But the thing is, I mean, of course, that's absolutely fine for someone who's writing the sort of things you write, but you couldn't really be William Wordsworth and write in the kind of Strunk and White style guide. It wouldn't. It would, because you wouldn't be able to achieve the same. You wouldn't be able to have the artistic effect.
No, but I've always liked the idea that when you're writing, right, and think of Hemingway, right? When Hemingway writes, you can almost feel the hair on his arms, right? He's so fucking masculine that you can feel the hair on his arms. And I just don't get why you wouldn't want to write in the Strunk and White manner.
Because, well, one, Hemingway didn't write anything like a Strunk and White manner, and two, his masculinity and the effect of his stories are not linked to the minimalistic prose style, or at least that's not the reason for them. It's part of them, but that's not the reason.
Here we go.
Before we continue,
Anyway.
I just wanted just about Dugin. I just wanted to say that have you guys ever actually listened to the man himself, or like read interviews or listened to podcasts or anything?
I've tried listening to interviews. I don't quite get him.
No, he's really quite boring compared to what like his image might suggest. Like he's kind of like a centrist, centre lefty type. He's like pro multiculturalism and everything. Pro sort of state-backed religion, not just Christianity. Supporting Islam as well. I think he supports the European Union. I think he's just like generally like just a Russian centre lefty. Really unimpressive. Like I don't know why he's an inspiration to anyone. How did he get involved with the alt-right as well? It's just stupid.
It's court philosophy to justify a Russian empire. That's what it is.
Right. Yeah, it's like Putin's philosopher.
Every empire court philosopher is going to be multicultural and multiracial due to the nature of empire.
Right.
So, anyway, so carry on. I have always steered clear of like talking to Dugin or talking about Dugin, because if you do that, you get a bunch of people, including Dickie Spencer, calling you a Russian agent or whatever, and I don't want to put up with that heat. If that makes any sense. So I'll leave it to Millerman. Millerman!
That used to be accused of Spencer all the time, that he was a Duginist, that he was working for Russia and stuff. That was always said 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, he's always been there. But I suspect that the reason that he's so onto that is because he understands that world, that he's been part of it, which is why he's super diligent about it. But you should buy my courses. Right, academic agency, not no Millerman, right? That's like going to That's like, I mean, if I'm like the Coca-Cola and Millerman's like your Asda bloody Panda Pops knockoff courses. My courses are the ones. Anyway, go on.
Who is Millerman? Who is this?
Oh, it doesn't matter, Horace.
Yeah.
Oh,
Later.
Well, I agree about Nick Land. What a load of fucking cobblers. Like Yarvin as well. I remember somebody told me to read his what is it? Something Reflections. What a load
Unqualified
of waste of
reservations.
time. Utter shit. Nonsense. Anyway, sorry, move on.
Yeah, I despise Californies. I despise LSDEs or whatever the hell land rights. I don't like continental. I mean, the thing is with the continental right is you have to remember that it's all, we read it in translation, so maybe it hits different in the original French or German or whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
And 39 of them were put on trial together in a giant cage.
I believe we are a most effective organization of Russia who irritates the government, but very effective.
So, sorry to pause again. Simon, who did you say the other one was? Korkin?
Kuryakin and Yegor Letov. Yeah.
Now, this is going to sound weird, but if you ever played Street Fighter 2, some of the later iterations of Street Fighter 2, and you ever played as Chun-Li, if Chun-Li did a fireball, I'm pretty sure she would shout that word. Kyokin. She'd go Kyokin, like that. So that's how I'm going to remember this chap's name. Kyokin. Kyokin, yeah? Kyokin.
This is Limonov here, but Kuryakin was one of the co-conspirators in the National Bolshevik Party.
Very effective. That clumsy police state cannot struggle against us. 39 young people behind bars more than 6 months. What they said we want Putin to go out.
Putin's other main opponent was the journalist Anna Politkovskaya.
Sorry to interrupt again, but Chun-Li, she had some thighs on her. And if you've had a look in the history of Street Fighter games coming out, I don't know what it is, those perverted Japs, they keep on making Chun-Li fatter as time goes on. So, like, I mean, she was fairly lean in the original Street Fighter, but if you have a look at Chun-Li now, she is a chunky girl. They keep on like enlarging the thighs in every edition. So that's a little a rabbit hole you may want to go down on in your own time.
What Putin had done, she said, was simply take the vast corruption that had begun with the oligarchs and shift it into the public sector. So the civil servants, the managers, and the intelligence agents around Putin all now benefited. One of them put it simply, why take hand...
Just interesting idea there. I just want to allude to the idea of Putin taking corruption into the public sphere. It strikes me there's an element there that resonates with what Japan did with crime, is that, you know, the way they handle crime, the Yakuza, in a sense is different to us because they take the Yakuza into the system. You know, the Yakuza have offices. Well, you know, I mean, this is when the Yakuza were dominant. They're sort of somewhat on the way now under attack from Middle Eastern, actually, and African gangsters who are muscling in Japan, surprisingly. But yeah, the Yakuza sort of have a semi-corporate identity. You know, you could go to their office. I mean, I don't necessarily think you get a job or anything, but it was something where it was kind of formalized and structured. So it was within vision of the structures of society and not hidden away. And maybe something about Putin has this Asiatic turn of mind to incorporate into the system.
Just to ask, Simon, did you say there were African gangsters muscling in on Japan?
Yeah, I have a friend who was in Kyoto, and I was saying, so what's the Yakuza doing these days? And he said, well, actually, they're in recession, so to speak. You get more Iraqi and African criminals that we're seeing.
I'm just imagining
Iraqi?
like Joseph Kony.
Yes, yeah.
Like Iraqi, like do you mean Iraqi, like Alan Yassin?
I think from Iraq.
Or like the Sassoon family.
Is
that what we mean?
No,
They came out of Iraq.
No, it was just, I found it very odd. This was a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I spoke to him. And he said that was what was becoming prevalent, you know, in Kyoto, which is quite a, desirable high-end Japanese city. So it's aspirational kind of living, but I don't know how they got in there.
The first thing that occurred to me when you said that was that, like, because the Yakuza have been incorporated into the state, thus they became decrepit. Because that is something that, like, apparently that happens with religion. Like, countries with a state religion, people become less religious or less devoted to the church or whatever. But countries without, there tends to be a flourishing of many religions or whatever.
I'd hesitate to say the state, but I think the idea was they were brought into societal structures that were transparent and open, and in a similar way that police, as Raymond Chandler said, they like red light districts because they know where the crime is. Then
right.
This is I did an old video that I don't think many people watched it, which was the Mafia Reduces the Crime Rate. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah.
Where I actually showed with stats that the Yakuza actually reduce the crime rate because they, and you'll like this, Horus, because it's a bit libertarian in flavor. They monopolize violence in a more efficient manner than the actual police do, because they're not bound by the same rules as the police. So they actually they'll go to places that the normal police won't, and therefore people are actually scared of them. Therefore, less crime is done, because while the Yakuza or the Mafia take their piece of the pie, they only take so much. Whereas if you just if there was competition in crime, there would actually be more crime owing to free market conditions.
I mean, I'll just add to that, I don't want to get all nostalgist here, but, you will meet those people who say the old East End back in the 60s when Ronnie and Reggie Cray were running it, was much more ordered and peaceful.
I went to Vietnam a long time ago, and the guy I did like a motorbike tour, and the guy I went with, a Vietnamese guy, he said, I asked him what's the deal with police, or something about the police, and he said, well, yeah, you see the police walk around occasionally. I had seen police officers walking around occasionally. They seem to just walk from like shop to restaurant to bar, just like taking money. Basically, they're just robbers. But he said actual law, as in like preventing crime, is enforced by bosses. He just said bosses, just local bosses, and that means like chieftain, like probably a criminal, but they do keep order, and they do if someone's robbing shops or whatever, they will sort it out. They will keep peace and law in their area. Probably not consistently, but to enough satisfaction. But yeah, the actual police were criminals, just robbers, and I think that is true.
Sorry to interrupt this broadcast, but there's something very important has just happened, Simon, and we've got some breaking news. That is that the King, Stuart Lee, has intervened in the political discourse, and I would like to know what he said. So let's just have a little watch of this a second. I'm gonna have to get him up. All right, let's see what Stuart Lee said, and then we'll get back to Curto.
Personality-driven political satire at the moment is missing the point.
Oh, golly. Well, what if Donald shouts at me? What do I say, Lammy?
We're living in a time where the information that we consume is controlled by a coterie of American tech bros, most of whom skew right, either in pursuit of financial reward or, to a lesser extent, weirdly, politically.
Yeah.
And any political satire that doesn't go through the filter of talking about how that is happening is not really worth doing. And instead of having a funny voice for Keir Starmer, it needs to be about Palantir, and it needs to be about Amazon, it needs to be about Jeff Bezos, it needs to be about Elon Musk, it needs to be about the Daily Telegraph and the Daily Mail. This personality politics of hasn't Keir Starmer got a funny voice is a sideshow to what's happening. It's a useful distraction, if anything. And also, it gives the impression that we live in a democratic society where we're allowed to satirize things. Well done to us, we're not Russia or America, as it happens. But it's largely irrelevant to where the damage is being done. Doing
So what I would like to say about that, Hat, is, do you remember what I talked about having sets of house rules and things like that, where, criticism of Starmer is actually slop, that it's all distraction. I feel that Stuart Lee has arrived at the same conclusion from a different place, but I basically agree with what he's saying. I think that any time spent having a go at Starmer or Lammy or anything like that is actually a concession to slop, and that all your firepower should be on Palantir and all these kind of tech bros and the structure.
No, that's correct. But of course, the problem is that Stuart Lee is having there is that he's still assuming that satire could, have any effect. I suppose. He's falling for the populist delusion of satire. I also just want to say it's interesting that there was a reference to rainbow there, of course, with the Keir Starmer bit. It's come up twice now. Oh no!
Yeah.
And also, I haven't seen that. What an awful sketch, because Keir Starmer has a funny voice, but he doesn't sound like Zippy. That doesn't work. It doesn't work as a it's not. I yearn for the days of Harry Enfield. And
are you suggesting, because that's the new British Saturday Night Live thing?
Oh, is it?
Are you suggesting that the bassist for David Lammy was Bungle in that sketch? Is that that's a very obscure reference for
was that
a
meant
modern
to be David?
audience?
Oh yeah.
That was meant to be that big guy was meant to be David Lammy. Yeah,
it's weird because he doesn't even look like David Lammy.
I actually tweeted out the other week that clip, and I took it. The model of it as there's actually a screen grab I put together with the clip from the SNL there, and it actually looks more like it's the Muppet Show. The Keir Starmer guy is obviously Scooter from the Muppets, and the guy next to him looks like Fozzie Bear. That was my take. It loses something in the translation there. But
I mean, before we
put it.
Sorry.
Oh, we're supposed to agree with Stuart Lee there, right?
I agree with Stuart Lee. Yeah, I think that I honestly feel that any time I make a tweet or gesture towards having a go at Starmer is actually a concession to slop in some strange way, that I would prefer to have all firepower on the Tory boys and the kind of enablers of the kind of horrible slop mechanism set up by Elon Musk and the weird kind of how can I put it, it's not even dialectical, it's like a kind of mutual bounds of obligation between like a JD Vance and Captive Dreamer. This notion that in America they have this quote called "always chimp," like the idea that there's a feedback mechanism between JD Vance and slop posters on Twitter, and that they're in a symbiotic relationship, actually turns my stomach. It's disgusting, and we should sneer at it in the same way that Stuart Lee does.
What's that about Captive Dreamer and JD Vance? What they seem to respond to each other or something?
There's this kind of notion online.
It's call and response, basically.
That you're locked in a dialectical, symbiotic relationship, almost like the obligation between feudal lord and peasant, between people people who post on Twitter and the likes of Elon Musk, who might give you attention. Right. And so let's just pretend you're retweeted by Elon Musk, or Elon Musk says interesting under one of your posts or whatever. You get a little thrill, right? There's a little thrill in that. Morgoth in the past has likened it to, showing a bit of ankle or something, like showing a bit of leg. And, it's like you show a bit of leg and Elon Musk takes interest in you, and then you completely open up and have sex with them immediately. That's basically like the relationship of it, and so then they own you.
Okay, so some people's reaction to getting that little bit of attention is to just be their slave, kind of thing.
Yeah, and they get caught in these, and every once in a while somebody breaks out of it. Like, for example, speaking of Chung Lee, Ian Chung Lee, our old friend, has after cheerleading the war for the past month, has taken this as his off ramp to switch sides, because he sees which way the slop winds are blowing online, and he's taken this as an opportunity to say, "Oh, Trump has betrayed us," and all this sort of stuff, and to kind of signal away. This is after he spent time, of course, being an Elon Musk fluffer, being a MAGA fluffer, being a Trump fluffer now, and now he's looking for a new kind of gig, as it were, in his eternal grift.
I agree with what you. Oh, sorry, go on.
That's it. Yeah.
I agree with what you said about, like, if I see someone with Starmer out in their profile or something, it's a big red flag. It's like they're either a Tory member, a Reform member, or they're I don't know, just like thick, just really dim. Like you see that especially on Facebook. I spend some time like trying to, I don't know, just convert a few people here and there on Facebook to, not trusting Farage or whatever and stuff. But there's whole groups set up on there where it's almost obligatory to include mention of Starmer in every single reply or comment. It's hard to explain how different Facebook is, but it's kind of sectioned off because groups are controlled by a particular admin. And I've been chucked out of most of these groups now, including like Rupert Lowe supporters and stuff, because someone convinces the admins that I'm a lefty. Like that's just their word, lefty, lefty infiltrator, because I said that it's wrong to concentrate fire on Keir Starmer.
Yes,
that doesn't make any difference. Like that, like they're just our enemy in any circumstances. Whereas we need to defeat the fake right.
This is why Dickie Spence has been ahead of the game. It's like Dickie Spence has had this unofficial rule for years now that he will never, under any circumstances, criticize like the left. Right? He'll never fall into that frame. And when he does criticize the left, it's always from an unexpected angle. And I because I've been doing this on the sly for a long time as well. So if I ever criticize Keir Starmer, it'll be for things like, why haven't you used Ofcom to shut down GB News? Right? Spencer would only criticize Biden for not actually locking Trump up and stuff like that, or banning Elon Musk from owning Twitter or wherever else, i.e., not actually using state power to do the things that they promised to do. And I feel that in a strange way has been a better way of going about business than falling into the typical rightoid frame of wasting any time at all, having a go at Shabana Mahmood because she's a Muslim or whatever. You know what I mean?
Sadiq Khan is the worst one, right? Khan's London is the worst of all this. Like, it's so fucking deluded and you idiots. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone people who just reply with Khan's London under.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sadiq Khan's the ultimate. And this is a little bit embarrassing for me because, of course, my number one video of all time, 900,000 views or whatever, is about Sadiq Khan. Right?
Yeah, who is a bad guy, who is our enemy, like no doubt about that. But yeah.
All right, let's get back to Curto. I thought it was worth watching that little bit of Stuart Lee though, because I feel like I feel like Lee is in the kind of understand what we're talking about.
I will just add to everything that's been said that Lee is kind of basically, if I could say intellectually, or he's interested in that part of the intellectual left that I'm interested in, which is essentially left accelerationist. You are sort of highlighting the processes that mitigate against the system functioning as you want it to. So this point he's making is about you're falling for the distractions of the system rather than actually looking at the systemic problem. And that's, again, a lot of, what I got from Mark Fisher's stuff when I referenced it in these streams was that he famously said, the problem is, he was talking about leftist protesters back in the 2000s, you're fighting the police. And he said, you're not fighting the enemy, you're fighting the servants of the enemy. And when you're doing that, the enemy's pretty happy about that because you're not really changing anything. You're just lashing out at the butler.
It's like they put up a dummy for you to waste your energy on.
Sure, yeah.
So, we'll, in fact, speaking of slop, I've just seen something. I've just seen something else that looks quite amusing, but maybe we'll have a look at that later. Let's get back to Curto.
Billionaires, if you can become a billionaire yourself. Politkovskaya said that the society Putin had created was one in his own image. It too believed in nothing.
He became president without any program, without any words. If there was independent television, they would tear Putin apart piece by piece. He has nothing to debate. He has no program. He has no personality. He has no interests. The bureaucrats who have made literally millions together with their families, I think they were very happy with Putin. They knew he would create favorable conditions in which corruption could flourish.
3 months after the interview, Anna Politkovskaya was shot outside her apartment in Moscow.
Is it rightoidism to basically distrust that woman purely on what she looks like in this instance, where I just sort of think, well, I don't really like this attack from this kind of, frumpy glasses wearing woman. I don't know. It just doesn't. It just puts me up the wrong way. But is that harking back to the anti-SJW sort of programming days?
I don't know. It's very difficult. It's very difficult because I also still have reflexive, I guess you call it like, what's it, repulse? I'm repulsed.
Disgust response.
Yes,
repulsion, repel.
It's the disgust mechanism. It's the disgust response, isn't it? Which apparently, in the Jonathan Haidt style literature, leftists actually they lack this disgust response. Let me give you an example of one where, despite everything that I've been saying, I cannot help but be physically repulsed by this man. Let me just show you. Hold on. Right, take a look at that kisser there. Right now, with nothing else said, there's an issue, isn't there? And this is very difficult to overcome, Hat. And I have not yet figured out if this is rightoidism or not.
But what is it that this man has to say that you would agree with anyway?
Well, I like some of his policies.
God. I see.
I like some of his. I like his idea of nationalizing utilities.
Not to be fair, yeah, but I think, like, if you flicked a book of just bog standard boilerplate leftist policies, there's going to be ones in there that just make sense. Next to free top surgery or something. There's going to be one like the railways should be owned by the state, which is good, unless you're a deviationist like Horus. There you go.
About Anna Politkovskaya, like Curtis was just saying as we paused it, that she was shot, and I think she died in 2006. She was murdered. Right?
She was assassinated. Yeah.
Right. And I'm no expert in Russian politics, but ever since then, I've heard this claim advanced as one of the reasons why we should be anti-Putin in foreign policy. It's not said in these words, but is his murdering of journalists, right? But it's always, if they ever mention a name, it's always her one, as in she's the main one, probably the one where there's the best evidence they could find. But I don't think this murder has ever actually been shown to be ordered by Putin. And it could be a case of, Henry II and Thomas Becket, as in, no, it actually wasn't his doing. But on the other hand, it is linked to him. It is totally related to his interests.
I mean,
and stuff.
how do we know that it's not a case like the Iranian protesters who were really foreign agents?
Well, also, I should just say, I've no idea. He may have ordered her to be killed.
Yeah, but how do we know that this woman is not a foreign agent in some way? Why is she talking to the West? Why is she talking to the Western press at all? Right?
Like,
why does the BBC have an interest in her? That's usually a good sign that she's working for MI6 or the CIA.
Yeah. How did they get in touch with her? Why is she the talking head for Russia, for Russian journalists, for the Russian left, for the opponents of Putin? Exactly. Those are all the questions you should always ask, especially the BBC, because it speaks for the state.
So essentially, she's a Russian twerking parvulist. It's the basic way to look at it.
She may as well be.
But despite the shock and outrage, nothing.
Sorry, you meant to say Palavist, didn't you? You said
Palavist. Yeah, Palavist. I often get that wrong. Yeah, but Palavist.
Nothing changed. Since Putin had come to power, the global price of oil had increased massively. Money had poured into Russia. One journalist described what happened. The country, he said, rode through the first decade of the 21st century in a state of semi-oblivion, in a dream world of consumption.
Is that Medvedev there?
That's Medvedev, yeah. That's a concert that was held in Red Square the day after he was elected. And the journalist being quoted again is this chap, Mikhail Zygar, who I referenced last week in his book, All the Kremlin's Men, which is something that's influenced Curtis quite a bit on this series. I just want to read a little bit from that, if I may. He's talking about this period from whence that quote comes. He says, during this period, Moscow's oligarchs and their crowd were, of course, far wealthier and lived in far grander style than the army of state officials. Ministers and governors, though not poor, viewed the insane luxury from a distance. They had not tasted Cristal champagne or gone skiing at Courchevel. While the Muscovites played, the Petersburgers worked, busily taking hold of power. 5 years later, they would have acquired real wealth themselves, but by then the party was over. Russia was in the midst of the strangest period of its history, when the focus of everyone's attention switched to consumption. For the first time ever, in terms of wealth and comfort, Russian society was not trailing behind the rest of the world, but leading the way. Ordinary Russians snapped up the latest iPhones, iPads, plasma TVs, cars, washing machines, juice extractors, and vacuum cleaners. In every major city in Russia, there appeared hypermarkets, multiplex cinemas, bowling alleys, restaurants, and nightclubs. People became accustomed to traveling abroad. Russia was clumsily learning how to be a rich country.
And there was me. I was just going to make a very low IQ comment, I'm afraid, which is that as Putin and Medvedev are walking through the square, Medvedev in his mind is thinking, imagine how many mad lad bangers I'm going to write in a few years' time. In 1 decade time, I'm going to be one of the world's greatest shit posters of all time. I mean, have you seen his Twitter feed in the past? I mean, he is mental.
He was a bit crazy last year, wasn't he?
I mean, I haven't seen him recently, but he is mental, Medvedev, on his Twitter. But anyway, go on, Horace.
Well, is he doing like a Surkov game of some kind, though, Simon?
I couldn't say. I don't know enough about Medvedev.
Just when I first saw this, sorry, go on.
Well, in the way that Russia works now, my understanding is that Medvedev's role, if you want to put it this way, is sort of what Steve Bannon does for Trump, which is in a way to sell what's happening back to Putin's own hardcores by saying more nutty things than Putin himself would do to keep stringing along Putin's base, his more nationalist base. Whereas Putin gets to be the sensible centrist, and then there are more sensible voices in the room, like Lavrov. Lavrov's like the adult. Medvedev gets to be the kind of crazy, gunslinger, almost like how Steve Bannon tries to baste wash Trump.
Yeah, he probably was the guy who replaced people like Zhirinovsky, who was the kind of ultra-nationalist before, who was no longer around. But yeah, as you say, Putin can then triangulate himself as the sensible center.
So Zhirinovsky was not to do with the National Bolsheviks, right? He was another party. No. Is that right?
He was just what you would have what is usually described as just a Russian ultra-nationalist, a Russian chauvinist.
Oh yeah. Was it called? If I remember rightly, his party was something really blandly named, though, like Liberal Party or something, wasn't it?
I can't remember. It was in my notes from a couple of shows back, I think, when we did Hypernormalization.
This footage, I see it is Medvedev now, but I first thought it was Gerhard Schroeder, because Gerhard Schroeder was the Chancellor of Germany for about 10 years or something, quite a long time, and he was head of the Social Democratic Party for longer than that. And under him, the SDP and thereby Germany were pro-Russian. And Gerhard Schroeder, I think, was given a directorship at Gazprom after he was Chancellor, or even during, I can't remember. But under him, had his way continued, like Germany and Russia would not be at odds now. Whereas under, what was his name? Before Merz, Ulrich Schultz or whatever it is, the last guy. They're obviously like totally in favor of, the proxy war and stuff. But it could have gone a different way. Like they had to kind of, German politicians since Schroeder have kind of apologized for him and treat him as an embarrassment. But he was for good relations and obviously gas and oil transfer between Russia and Germany.
To be clear, what I'm talking about with Medvedev, though, in his function now, not at this point where he'd just been elected, but what he does for Putin now, I would describe broadly as what we would see as containment. And you asked me about Dugin earlier on. I actually think that ultimately what Dugin does for Putin is also kind of containment viewed from the Russian perspective, but his view is more. His role is more to try to draw Westerners into the Russian worldview, or to get like-minded folk from the populist right to be Russia friendly, something like this. But ultimately, the sort of rhetoric Dugin has, I think, is ultimately containment for Putin. Which is not it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying these figures exist in a way to say the sort of tub thumping things that Putin himself won't say.
Yeah, that relates to Zhirinovsky, as people are saying in the chat. When I say ultra-nationalist, that's the way he's sold to us in the West. But people are saying, yes, his party was the Liberal Democratic Party. So he's as people have said, a controlled opposition, quote, nationalist, in the same way that Nigel Farage is the far right in this country.
Like Bourgeois in China, Edward Limonov believed that the only way to escape from this empty world was to bring back the old dreams from the past. But in his case, the communism was mixed with a fascist nationalism.
It's probably worth saying something about muscular communism as opposed to kind of gay trans communism or whatever, race communism or whatever, which is that there is this strain in some commie thought that there's no reason that communist man has to be a weakling or has to be like gay or has to be, i.e., if you have a look at the actual Soviet Union, there was quite a heavy emphasis on like youth and athletics and sports and getting fit and all of those sorts of things that you might get from some of the kind of bro science crowd or the BAP crowd or the Andrew Tate crowd in a way, the kind of self-improvement type stuff, I guess what you'd call it, having a healthy attitude, eating healthily, being physically fit, and I don't know if these guys were into that sort of stuff, but sometimes the things that the left label as like a blend between communism and fascism, the fascistic element is just stuff like that. That's my understanding of it. Do you guys have any other further knowledge on this?
Only in a general sense, it's a form of its own kind of vitalism.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, vital. I guess you call it vitalist communism.
You look at your Soviet realist kind of propaganda art of the Second World War. Lots of men with well-developed forearms with hammers in them, and looking kind of muscular and workmanly. So the sort of dignity of labor combined with a sense of you're ready to pick up a gun at any time kind of resilience. I mean, it's kind of in a way what a lot of the Antifa lot fancy themselves as,
but then
but are not.
If you take the logic further, it also then has stranger elements. Like, we've discussed this before, Hat. The notion that homosexuality in itself is fascism. That if that homosexuality is right, is latent bourgeois fascism or something. Therefore, we need to be straight and family orientated and things like that.
that was a huge intellectual idea in the early 20th century among Marxists, was that fascists are gay. And the thing is that there is a weird element of truth to that, given how
fascists are,
given how homoerotic fascism can get. I mean, there's quite an interesting book. People will have heard of it probably. I think it's called The Pink Triangle or The Pink Swastika. That's just all. Someone did 5-10 years worth of research into how a huge amount of National Socialist Party members were closetly or openly gay.
Paging Ernst Röhm, yes.
Yeah, that's the main one. And they just spun it out from Ernst Röhm, basically. I bet half the book is about Ernst Röhm.
No, there's a big network. Actually, there was a big sort of hidden network, and a big part of Night of the Long Knives, according to that book, was basically to purge out that element that the high ranks knew was there.
It would make sense in the essay, at least, because gays tend to recruit other gays, don't they, and exclude straights where they can. It seems in certain organisations, anyway. I read what could be a counterpart book to that, which is called Glamour Boys. I believe the guys on War Strike have talked about it. It's by Chris Bryant, who was the Labour MP until last year or year before. And his point is to say that anti-appeasement in Britain was largely or centred around loads of gay men. But he also includes Anthony Eden as one of the Glamour Boys, because the term Glamour Boys was applied to Anthony Eden and others, but he wasn't gay.
Was Anthony Eden gay? No,
that's ridiculous. So he uses a really vague pretext. Basically, Chamberlain once used the phrase Glamour Boys. So he uses that to mention anyone who could be referred to that term. But the main theme of the book is to credit homosexuals with having stopped Hitler, basically, or done their bit anyway.
Sort of lavender mafia in the Tory party.
There is a... There's
But just to finish though, he names as gay certain people who weren't gay. So you can't trust these books sometimes, gays like to impute gayness to others where it isn't even there sometimes. So
I was just going to say, I remember the Kinks song, I wore a hat like Anthony Eden, or I've got a hat like Anthony Eden. So I guess, was Eden seen as like fashionable or flamboyant or something?
He was seen as fashionable. He was very well dressed. He was also quite young and good looking. But he was known to have dressed very well and a little flashy,
That's right. Well, he wore a slightly more modern style of Homburg hat in the 50s, which is still called now an Anthony Eden. Took the name on after him.
Interesting. Okay. Presumably Ray Davis was mocking in this tendency, was he?
He cut a distinct figure in how he dressed, even in the 30s. Apparently, that's why he was called. Partly why he was the main glamour boy.
Interesting.
Chris Bryant has just taken that phrase that Chamberlain used because it had a connotation of girliness or whatever, and he's used that to make a book about how gays saved us from, the Holocaust in Britain or whatever it was.
I mean, I still think that overall, the Labour Party is straighter than the Tory Party. Overall, Okay. I mean, I know there are gay people in the Labour Party, but I just look at the Labour Party. There's so many of them are straight white family people with families. Some of them from trade union backgrounds, and then you look over at the Tory Party, and they're either closeted homosexuals, openly gay, or weird, wormy guys like the husband of Kemi Badenoch.
He looks like he's painted in some sort of slime or something, doesn't he?
Mr. Badenoch. I find it impossible to see a picture of Kemi Badenoch and her husband and not have really, wrong images flashing through my mind, what,
of you with them.
No, of me with them. I don't know. I can't. I mean, basically, if those two ever got it on, they would get it on in a very wrong manner. They would actually.
I'm sure they have got it on. They're married.
They would. But what I'm saying is, the Badenochs would have gay sex even though they're straight.
Oh,
you understand what I'm saying? Right?
Spiritually gay.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's carry on. Because the Tories are weird. I'm telling you. A lot of Tories call Kemi Badenoch mommy. And they call
no accident. Sorry, go on.
They do. I mean, they call Thatcher mommy.
loads of them have got this matron complex, you could call it. I've heard that said by Tory grandees and stuff. Like they say, we don't know what you're supposed to do when a woman's bossy, and in some cases, their response is to go get beaten up by a dominatrix or something, or whatever. All sorts
Telling
of
you the Tories are full of wrong uns.
No, you're probably right. It's no accident that the Tories passed the gay marriage laws, right? That was them out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And they passed the Gender Recognition Act as well. A bit later. like a few
Whereas
years after.
Labour are literally council house mothers, council house teenage mothers, and
No,
you know,
Angela Rayner increasing her tribe. Is that-
Angela Rayner. I increased my. I'm proud to be a grandmother. I increased my tribe, and old bus drivers rolling up their sleeves and being like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
And even
It's time for a poll in the chat. Liz Truss versus Angela Rayner.
oh God,
Who?
no.
Wait,
I
like,
do.
Sorry.
Truss is like what in her late 50s or something. Rayner's about. Like,
It's got to be a
40s,
no
isn't it?
contest. It's got to be Big Ange. Come on. I can't have trust voters. No. That's
Both
all
at
sorts
the
of-
same time, somebody says.
How old is Rayner? She's only like early 40s or late. She's pretty young, right?
Do you know who reminded me a little bit of Liz Truss earlier on? This is a callback. That was Jane from Jane and Freddie. Kind of had a little bit of the Liz Trusses about it.
The Liz Trusses.
Why does the sea?
Would you remember that? Would you smash it? Would you hang off the back of it? Disgusting. I was reminded of that recently by a disgusting Tory boy who came up in my comments and used the language of Richard Key. That was Richard Keys and Andy Gray when they got fired from Sky Sports, and they were having that lads banter with Janie Redknapp. Do you remember that? And it was like, would you smash it? Would you hang off? That was when they brought in female lines, like female lines people, like female refs. And that was the laddish, but like Richard Keys was like, oh, will you smash it? Would you hang off the back of it? And it was caught on a hot mic and they ended up getting fired. That was one of the first cancellation, like politically correct cancellations was those two off Sky
It's
Sports.
like 20 years ago now or something, isn't it? Or 15, 20 years.
But I
They-
always thought that lingo was really disgusting lingo, that is. So
But I would imagine they're on the mic through the breaks all the time, right? But just some producer or whatever just decided to smuggle out the footage and get them in trouble.
But all sorts of
they must-
stories came out about Keys and Gray that for
Slapping bums and stuff.
like for literally 20 years, like every single, like I don't imagine like the female assistant would be putting on his mic or whatever. She'd have to kneel down and he'd be like, yeah, while you're down there, love, and all that sort of, like they were like
Every
proper
day.
old fashioned kind of it's that Harry Enfield sketch, where's the bloke? Where's the bloke? Get a sugar, love. It was all that sort of stuff.
It just came across tawdry. It wasn't funny, was it? We didn't laugh with them. They just came across like sad.
I mean, it was a little bit the generation before us. We were kind of already politically correct by our we were already metrosexual men for us, so we didn't do that sort of thing, did we?
We were already accustomed to that stuff not being said, yeah. And also they were bringing in like Bill Turnbull and like really like watery men,
Yeah.
Or
Although
whatever,
I do remember
Ray.
a period when I was about 20, 21. Do you remember when ladettism became a real big thing? There was a period where some of like my female peers, like girl, women friends, would do that sort of stuff themselves. That they'd be like slapping boys on the bum and drinking pints and so that sort of, like, there was a period where that sort of stuff happened. It was around the time that show was on. Remember that show Teachers on Channel 4? It was around that sort of period that there was a kind of explosion of girls acting like
I
boys.
do hate it when women ostentatiously call you mate.
There was a lot of that stuff when I was kind of 18, 19, 20. And then I don't, at some point they stopped doing it. At some point women became different.
This is what annoys me about the word woke. There was all that stuff back then, long before anyone used the word woke. People think woke started in like 2009 or something, right? But it's like, no, that was early attempts at equality, trying to pretend that there's no difference between men and women. that was that back in the 90s.
Yeah, but
There was
I mean,
other
there was a
ports as
lot.
well.
There was a lot of, how can I say, like, women doing performative boisterousness. Boisterousness is what I call it. Like, you know, downing pints and acting in a yobbish manner. You know, I remember disliking it back then. I had one female friend who was into all of that sort of stuff. And when we were out, I said, look, you know, you can have a pint, but I want you to have it in two half-pint glasses, because you know, having the big one kind of looks wrong with your wrist. And to be fair, she did abide by that little rule that I put in for a while. But
because
you know, that was against the grain of the time. Yeah.
The way, for a woman to engage a punch, she has to engage her whole shoulder and elbow and stuff, and it just looks geezerish, doesn't it? Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
but there was
very geezerish.
on the other. There was an episode once of Red Dwarf where there was like when Rimmer was like a masculine guy, there was like an alternate universe version of Rimmer, but as a woman, and she was a masculinist rather than a feminist. Oh, sorry. Excuse me, I've got a cough. She was laughing at him because she said sexist things to him, and he responded like a feminist, so she called him a masculinist.
Oh, I see. Right, okay.
But it was satire, you know, it was comedy. Yeah. But then people became like that in real life, just like geezerish, short hair, you know. Yeah.
Anyway, we should get back onto Kurt. We're 2 hours in, and we've done. Simon is pulling his hair out. He's like, we've done about 30 seconds.
I'm just watching the chat. There's mild disgruntlement is there.
No, this is what they tune in for. This is what they tune in for. Also, can I just this thing we're seeing has been worrying me now. Why would you have a duckling in the same room as a cat? It's going to kill the duckling. I don't like this. This is animal abuse.
There's a famous viral video. A cat in a shark costume chases a duck while riding a Roomba. It has 10 million views. It's back from 2012.
You know how a certain mid-century German was, you know, he was very against racism against, you know, African Americans, Native Americans. Also, you know, didn't they those National Socialists, they didn't like animal abuse.
No.
You know, there's a famous cartoon of all the animals of the German forest giving a Sieg Heil to Hermann Goering because he abolished poaching. He completely wiped out all poaching and vivisection in Germany. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent there.
Are you suggesting that the mid-century Germans cracked down on rightoidism and like low IQ racism and
no, they did.
Reflective Tory boy nastiness and sadism, things like that.
If Hitler and Goebbels hadn't built the Sportoplast and then held the Olympics there, Jesse Owens would never have won that medal. You know, he brought a brother up. He didn't put a brother down. That's what I'm saying.
About Jesse Owens, if you read his Wikipedia page, you read the Wikipedia page, which normally, you know, Wikipedia you can't necessarily trust about anything political, but Jesse Owens' Wikipedia page does say that it's a complete myth that Hitler refused to salute him. Jesse Owens didn't say that himself. You know, apparently Hitler thought Jesse Owens was a legit winner. You know, like they just he left before the end of before the ceremony or whatever. That's what it was.
He came and gave him a fist bump. You know.
Yeah,
The thing is, even within the framework of like, you know, quote unquote racist literature, no racist is going to kind of argue with the fact that somebody like Jesse Owens could run fast. That's not that's not the theory. Like, even what's his name? You know, the steam Gobineau would not say that you know, they couldn't run fast or sing a good song or, you know.
And
like,
when you bid to host the Olympics, you know that this might arise, right? I mean, how could it could never have been a surprise? It's ridiculous.
Well, and also you know, baby's first racism is sort of like, oh, you know, these blacks, you know, whereas if you know, most proper racists, like people like, you know, Gobineau or Evola or, you know, the H-Man, they're worried about races like the Asians or the, you know, Semitic peoples, aren't they? Because they're actually a threat, because they've got the brains and the wherewithal to do something against you. It's not, there isn't really much point being like conspiratorially worried about, you know, African Americans, because they're not really a threat in that way. Like, yes, they'll, like, it's almost like, yes, they'll you know, they'll cause disorder and sort of rioting, and they're not perhaps the nicest to be around, but
they're not insidious.
They're not going to know. Then they're not going to. It's Liberia isn't Israel, is it?
What you're saying, Hat, is you demand a higher caliber of racist. That's what you're saying, Hat.
Right. Essentially, yeah.
Let's count. Yes. I would just like to say, on behalf of the Academic Age channel, I actually condemn all racism on this channel, and and sexism too. And I apologize for my earlier misogyny when I talked about. I now see, after self-reflecting and a period of self-criticism, that I was wrong to impose the 2 half pints on my female friend when I was 20. That was just me being a chauvinistic bastard when I was 20 years old. I apologize.
You've now got to imagine a huge auditorium of thousands of us, and all of us there in the front row crying and clapping, for hours and hours as AA stands there and acknowledges, the party has been misguided.
I think I've probably been called an old-fashioned chauvinist by pretty much every woman I've ever met due to little things like this, but it's kind of fine. You learn to roll with it after a while. And they can see it as like a small personality quirk. I'm only messing around. I'm doing it in a kind of Ricky Gervais manner, if that makes sense. It's kind of knowing like a ironic way. Yeah.
This has been a really great struggle session.
Don't they know it's the end of the world, 'cause you don't love me anymore?
Google was now making billions, and at the heart of it was data. It had become a new gold rush. Products of more and more companies around the world were set up to mine all the traces of human behavior everywhere. And nothing was quite what it seemed. The makers of Roomba revealed that new models would also be able to gather and transmit information about the inside of people's homes. People, though, they added, could always turn this off if they wanted.
Hi, I'm Tristan, Global Passion Ambassador for WeVibe.
Sorry, chat. Given in the spirit of way, in the spirit of old-fashioned laddism, I'm going to have to. It's Tristan. Is Tristan Weed Marker Wood? That's what we're going to have to ask the chat.
Yes.
Tristan Weed Mark, yes or no? Okay, so carry on.
I feel like the chub to boobs ratio is poor though. Like, as a
she was very much of the build of the sort of girls who drink the pints and do the slapping on the bum in like 2001. Though they were all because they all played hockey or rugby or whatever. What kind of butch. Anyway, go on.
If she did it, would you? You wouldn't mind if she did it.
Would you smash it? Would you hang off the back of it?
I'm sure you're familiar with the Welsh word "clua," for a clip round the ear. My uncle used to go, "Oh, you wouldn't mind if she gave you a clue, would you?"
What I do is I quiz her on her views on the conflict in the Middle East, and her attractiveness would go up or down depending on the answer she gave. So that's what I'll say.
Couples vibrator.
And even the vibrator, WeVibe, was discovered transmitting data about people's private behavior back to the servers.
Good morning, Kayla.
Pause.
Good morning. I love the.
Just, I actually found the ad for that couples vibrator. I'm putting a link in our private Twitter chat.
Dear.
It's only a couple of minutes, but it's worth watching the actual ad.
Couples. I actually have never heard of a couples vibrator.
Yeah, this is a part of a kick from 2016, so not that long ago. Tristan Weedmark in an article says masturbation is a huge part of overall wellness and it's a healthy expression of a person's sexuality. Culturally, we tend to place a lot of unrealistic expectations on what it means to be a man or woman. As a result, it seems as if in an effort to maintain perceived societal norms about masculinity, men feel the need to embellish their stories to their male friends and downplay their sexual activity to their female partners. But this Wanko phone app that they've got is quite a funny ad. If you want to,
yes, I've got it.
Have a look at that. I'll tell you.
Can I just say, by the way, Simon, your algo is going to be completely ruined by looking at this. You're going to just be wherever you find this, that app is going to be destroyed.
I'm going to be hitting that don't recommend channel button or not interested button. Yeah, a lot.
Immediately, of course, people will notice her boyfriend is of a different ethnic background. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
This is how we roll in 2016.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Okay, it's not 2018 now. You know, we don't tolerate the disgusting alt-right around here anymore. We disavow all of that. Our new green friends, we're all happy with this, but it is still notable, isn't it?
Yeah. No one does it.
Well, hold on, they've just met. They've just met. That's a first date.
No,
I thought they were already going out. I don't really understand.
I thought they were like a long-standing couple that had, gone on a business trip without each other.
They're reviving the magic in their flagging relationship.
Okay. Also, can I? Sorry I don't want to slow this down anymore. But please, can we just have a moment to remember this genre of music? Because it was every advert had this music in it, but I don't remember it ever being like in the charts or
just kind of slightly generically upbeat.
Hey,
kind of life. There was a moment in the early 2010s that everything had to be life affirming in the manner of who's that? Pharrell Williams. He was very life affirming, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
So I guess this is in that direction.
Happiness.
Happy, yeah. Stomp, clap.
Hated it.
Stomp, clap. Happy.
Yeah.
Stomp, clap. Living your best life. Pick up your new shoes.
Oh, it makes me genocidal. It really does.
See you soon, honey.
I can't wait. Call me when you're ready.
Dirty cow.
You slag.
See, she's got the trousers off.
I noticed. Yeah, she left her sort of businesswoman button-up shirt on, but just took everything else off.
Simon has actively reached the age where he just resents female sexuality. He just resents.
This isn't. Yeah, but come on. This isn't female. This isn't female sexuality, though, is it? This was designed by a boardroom. This is nothing, no woman's ever done this.
Are you ready to give this?
I definitely went out with a girl who looked like this at one point as well. So anyway, let's
about Alicia Kearns woman.
Alicia Kearns.
Skinny, she's like a skinnier Alicia Kearns.
Yeah, you can't see the Wellington boots. Yeah.
No.
This, to be fair, looks like a good-looking woman, like even without makeup. But also like this sort of disgusting modern life sauciness that is just not real. But I think I can see where this is going. They're not even gonna meet up. Right?
Just let it run. See, you'll see how he remotely.
Simon's been studying this for hours.
I just thought it was so funny. Gross is funny.
I just did a zoom in of Simon, and he's been.
Oh.
Do you remember that character? Do you remember that character in Mary Whitehouse who had all the milk? Milky. You know, remember that? You're surrounded by like rotting milk and dirty old t-shirt. You've been watching this for hours. No,
it is dead.
She's taken her trousers off for a reason, and not only her trousers. I bet.
I do have a reason for putting this ad in because there is a little bit of a follow-up story that I'll relate once.
Come on, Simon. Bad boy, dirty boy, in your bed. Okay, let's go.
Simon, have you thought about whether you actually want to tell the story? I mean, it's.
It just relates to the point that Curse is going to make as well about data, our data, what happens to it. Anyway, it'll explain.
Try?
I've been waiting all day.
Let's play. How's this?
Oh, hold on. I've just got it. He's got the remote control
to some object.
Oh,
which is,
hell.
It's so bleak as a vision.
No. Oh no.
He's got the it's like a little cuck machine.
Oh no.
And the main business of whoever made it and sold it is just gathering data. Like, it's not even about the devices or anything.
But he can go and get a coffee now. He doesn't, you know.
Oh my goodness! I've just realised what it is. That is just that is.
Mm.
And I'm just imagining the actual customers for this won't look like this. It will be internet nerds. I guarantee you. She'll have one of those like faded black t-shirts and be like 26 stone. You know, he'll be a classic game sock. You know, looking like the World of Warcraft meme from South Park. You know, that's like a little stain on his thing. Oh, come on, let's do the virtual thing. You know, I'm in Birmingham and you're in Maine, 3,000 miles away. Come on, let's get it on.
There is
absolutely disgusting. All right,
there is a joke in an old, I think it's a George Bernard Shaw play, like a very subtle joke, that in the future everything would just be so industrialized, we'd all be so just checked out of everything that you could go off you could head off to the bank, and from across London, you know, Mrs. So-and-so could lie in the drawing room and experience great pleasure without you even having to be there.
This was all from that era when talk about, you know, the digital pathologies of parasociality were tied up with the discourse that you would often come across in the media about the young being time poor. And this sort of advert is kind of an anecdote of something that, you know, again, Mark Fisher expressed when he talked about the constant pressure and anxiety of modern, if you like, capitalist time, is that even sexuality falls prey to this. So, you know, people are saying, you know, come on, I don't have time to have sex. I've got emails to answer.
I have become a modern Saint Augustine. I forswear all women. It's just disgraceful. Let's carry on. Just the worst thing I've ever seen.
That's your life now. So this was WeVibe. They had to pay $3.75 million in a class action settlement because the company was collecting data on when people were using these things and sending it back to the company, who were then sort of selling it on to all kinds of people, you know, like Google, essentially.
Right. But the early era. Sorry,
go on. You go on.
Well, the early era of having the App Store, Google Play, right, which was from about 2007, I think, when the first iPhone came out. I think this wasn't really said much initially, but through a few years in, maybe early 2010s, people just all started to say, you know, you are the product. If it's free, you're the product, right?
Yeah.
And it means like all of these things are just funnels for data, just to draw data into the company. Just whatever you have to do, whatever usage you have to think up to entice people to supply their data. And obviously, loads of these apps at the start will have terms and conditions. And in some of them, at least back then, it was simply like, yeah, you just give us the right to explore all your phone and your accounts and everything, like pretty much. Like, it's actually rolled back a bit somewhat from that since, because there was that GDPR law and stuff, which I actually make use of. Like, all websites now have to say whether they're, you know, give you an option to reject cookies and stuff. I use that, and I reject cookies, and I became much more conscious. But for years, I, and obviously like a billion people or more, were just, these devices just got us to just give up all sorts of data. My phone was like watching everywhere that I walked and how many places I took and everything, and I just didn't think anything of it. Later, I became more cynical about these companies, you know, and how they see us, you know, which is just a data expanse to harvest.
What's the data you're getting from this though? Oh, this one likes the G-spot style and this one likes it on.
But it could be unrelated. It could just be what time they stay up till or something.
It was. I mean, the registration on the devices involved, you know, first of all, scraping off people's email addresses, and then it was collecting sort of real-time data about how and when it was being used, and all of this stuff feeds into what we're going to sort of come across a bit later on, which is, you know, this phenomenon of surveillance capitalism, which ultimately ties into things like nudge units. Whereas nudge units were about sort of steering you towards behaviors that were, quote, good for you. This form of, if you like, surveillance capitalism, as it's called, is really about, underwriting the bottom line of big corporations with that data, which is also then used to nudge you as well, but for the purpose of obviously returning to the shareholders.
Now, I don't want to get all moral maze on you, but if you were going out with someone or married to someone and they engaged with that we just saw, would that count as cheating then? Or is it just
with another man controlling it, you mean?
So the other bloke is miles away. He's remotely controlling. Is that still cheating, or?
Yeah, she's thinking of him or something. Yeah, that is cheating.
Yeah, of course.
For purposes of gratification, I guess.
What is the difference between that and, I don't know, like her just watching porn?
Because it's just wrong. Because it's just wrong. We don't need to get into the semantics of it, Mr. Heidegger. It's just wrong.
You don't want your woman watching porn either, do you?
No, but I mean, strictly speaking, she hasn't actually done anything. I mean, she's literally just had like assisted whack off.
No, she's got. If you go by the advert, she's hooked up with some black guy who's then got an app where he's long distance dildo to her. That's what's happened. Of course, it's wrong.
I don't know. It's a moral maze. It's a moral maze.
That's how
we're now all going to get accused of rightoid reflexism for opposing the long distance dildo.
Yeah.
The Rabbi Shmuley special.
I mean, what was the woman's name? Weedmark.
Weedmark.
Weedmark. I mean, come on. You could if you wrote that as a comedy sketch, it would be anti-Semitic.
Don't you?
While the German government instructed parents to destroy any models of Kayla the doll, because it contained what they called a concealed espionage device that could also transmit personal data about the behavior of the whole family. And Pokemon Go, which was created by a subsidiary of Google, was more than just a game.
Pause.
As well as extracting even more data from the player.
Just briefly, the Kayla the doll was a sort of a subject of a bit of a scare as well, because the thing that was found that you could hack the Bluetooth connection between the phone and the doll, and obviously, then your nonces could, as it were, dial in to your kid's doll and start talking to them, because Kayla had a sort of an AI voice, and it could be made to then say other things than what it, instead of saying what a lovely morning it is, you could actually program it to say pretty much anything.
Disgusting.
Phones. It was also what one researcher described as persuasive gaming. An experiment to see if you could move mass groups of people around to where you wanted them. As well as having fun, the players could also be guided to what was called sponsored locations, cafes and bars that would pay to be a part of the system. One journalist described the aim. Pokemon, she said, is about herding people to monetize checkpoints without them being fully aware of it.
So yeah, he's quoting, the journalist there is Shoshana Zuboff. She's actually a Harvard professor, and she wrote this book, Surveillance Capitalism. And essentially this idea of surveillance capitalism is about, taking private experience as the free raw material to be extracted, by corporates and monetized as we understand now. Of course, lots of data is essentially, you've got what you call a behavioral surplus extraction, which it can be anything, the sort of way you're behaving when you're online, the clicks or the likes that you put on, or your location, voice notes that you leave, or selfies that you put in. It uses that stuff to feed into what you then call prediction products, machine learning, AI. And then it's also sort of traded on what you call behavioral futures markets. And these are kind of essentially markets that really exist between these kind of large tech companies. So, there is a high value to this.
So, best Pokemon, anyone? Do you know of any?
I never liked it.
I was never into this stuff. I remember it happening and adults playing these sort of games, but again, it's all, as he's saying here, it's all kind of an experiment in seeing what you can get people to do. It's a massive harvest of suggestibility data.
I can never remember any of them because there are absolutely tons of them. But the only one I can remember was called something like Coffin. Anyone remember him? Yeah, I don't know.
Never watched it.
Because if I can remember, they have two forms. This was something my brother was into as a younger millennial, as an actual millennial, as opposed to God's chosen, the Xennial. Pokemon was big in his time, so I only kind of caught it like through the corner of my eye, in a kind of disapproving older brother way. But I seem to remember Coffin was one, was kind of an evolved form of one, and there was one that was a cat, Meowth, was it Meowth? There was one called Snorlax.
Team Rocket, isn't it?
Yeah, wasn't there a little Team Rocket?
Yeah, that's it. Meowth.
Yeah, there was one called Meowth. That was the cat.
Yeah, but Team Rocket, that's not Pokemon, is it?
Team Rocket was Pokemon.
I genuinely never knew that. I watched Team Rocket and never watched Pokemon.
Team Rocket were the villains in Pokemon.
I didn't know that. I genuinely didn't know that.
See, I'm so glad as Gen X I missed all this. My knowledge of Japanese stuff ended with like Battle of the Planets, in the 1980s.
Also, I've just been spammed with a barrage of messages from friends who are watching the stream, and they're all saying Meowth is not a Pokemon.
Sorry, Pokemon purists.
Yeah,
Coughing is though, isn't it? There was one called Coughing. Am I wrong?
I'm of the younger generation, but
do you have a younger brother for us? Because I only know it from my younger brother. It was big in the late 90s. We were a bit old for Pokemon.
Yeah,
I'm now being told live in my earpiece that Meowth is quote more complicated, and that he is not part of the team. So he's not like Pikachu. This is all I'm being told this now.
The reason, right? I understand it. The reason that Meowth is not a Pokemon is because Meowth, they're in those little balls. They throw the ball and the Pokemon comes out of the ball. Meowth was always out of the ball. So Meowth was a Pokemon, but he wasn't like captured. He was always out. Sorry.
Can I go? I don't want to talk about Pokemon. Sorry, I know when we talk about
I don't understand anything anymore.
When we talk about football, maybe it's like this for everyone else, but now
it is. No, this is exactly what it feels like when you talk about football. Yeah,
nothing. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Heidegger a minute ago. Sorry,
but yeah, well, exactly. Prompted by me saying, "Is this Edward Limonov?" That we just talked for about 20 minutes about like fucking phenomenology and stuff. Anyway, Simon, I would just say that, like, I am of same age as AA, but I didn't know because I didn't have a younger brother, I guess. But there is good Japanese stuff that applies to your generation as well. There has been some good stuff, but not Pokemon or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Akira, RG Vader.
There's the Miyazaki films. They started in the 70s. Some of them are great.
Akira was quite big with a lot of Gen Xers, I remember.
Akira was a thing. That was a thing.
It was the first cartoon that had a 15 label on it for me that I ever saw.
Yeah.
Or 18, maybe.
All right, let's carry on.
All this was not only creating a world where human behavior could be predicted, it was going to do something else.
I would like to create a Pokemon game where rather than throwing Pokemon, you throw philosophers. So you could like play Alexander Dugin, and he'd come out and he'd be like Dugin, or I don't know. You could play Evola, say, or play Marx. Or
that
whatever.
Is a genuinely brilliant idea. I would play that.
Yeah, it'd be good, wouldn't it?
Right? Can we? I mean, there are clever people, many clever people that watch this channel. If anyone can do us an episode of Andy Pandy, but it's us four doing this stream, and AA's Philosophers Pokemon game, we're forever in your service.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
We're copywriting the idea, and we want percentages.
I play Heraclitus, and it's like ball of fire and fury.
Heraclitus,
Heraclitus, and he does fireballs at you or whatever. Brilliant.
Is that because Heraclitus was the one who said, "From fire came all things"?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Horus. Now you're getting my sixth form philosophy humor. What else have we got? We play. Who's the one who did the transcendental idealism? Is that Immanuel Kant? You know,
Kant, yeah, and
play
Hegel.
Kant. You know,
But would you? You'd have to have factions. So would you have like the Germans and the Greeks and the
Yeah, you could get, like,
Anglo? Would they all?
sets
So,
of Pokemon
so instead of like,
balls, right?
yeah, so you can play whoever you want, but if you play all the Germans, you get a boost because they're all the Germans, you know.
Mm.
Maybe
I'd
it's
say,
got
I'd say
T-Rocket.
Hegel would be a pretty powerful one. He like, you know, he does dialectics, and you
Very high
suddenly
stats.
like the two sides start merging or swap sides or whatever. It could be very good, you know.
And then you got like sort of low tier late add-ons that aren't very good, like Nick Land. You wouldn't really want to play him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nick Land would just do like a little spark of electricity.
Yeah, it'd
very
be rubbish.
effective, you know, yeah.
And you'd have kind of Jigglypuff, but in the form of like Lao Tzu. You know, it's just all about kind of going, oh well, giving up.
Is that where the word Trigglypuff came from? Then do you remember Trigglypuff? It's such a minor, tiny thing. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
You look like a Pokemon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jigglypuff was like a fat pink one that made you go to sleep.
That's right. Yeah, that would be Lao Tzu.
Simon, anytime I talk about football on these streams ever again, just tell me to stop and I will stop. All right?
It's all right. My pain is constant and unending.
I'm really sorry.
You could play like Albert Camus and he'd induce
That's
suicide
right.
in you. Just
And he'd be,
induce
yeah.
suicide, yeah.
I just realised you are just talking about philosophy now. We can join back in, can't we, Simon? So,
Exactly.
Okay.
Something that scientists and engineers had been struggling with for 50 years.
Just like the idea of playing Jordan Peterson and he just comes out, up yours, woke moralists. I don't know what his actual power would be, but I just like the idea
Cleaning
of
his room.
playing clean your room. You immediately have to waste a turn cleaning a room or whatever.
Do you want to press the Peterson button? I always enjoy that one. I think that's one of the funniest
I
quotes.
still have him somewhere. Where is he?
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
It's so pathetic.
It was finally going to solve the problem of how to create real artificial intelligence. But it would do it by creating machines that could see a different kind of reality, one that was hidden from human beings. The key figure who did this was a psychologist called Geoffrey Hinton. He was the great-great-grandson of George Boole, who had invented Boolean logic that is behind all the algorithms in modern computers. In the 1990s, Hinton realized that the idea that you can create AI by feeding rules of human logic into the machines had completely failed. What Hinton said was that you do the opposite. You get rid of all the rules of logic and instead feed a mass of data into the computer and let it look for its own connections and patterns. He used what were called neural networks, where the connections inside the computer mimicked the human brain.
Back in the 90s, there was a completely different paradigm that wasn't called artificial intelligence, it was called neural networks, that said, we know about an intelligent system, it's the brain. And the way that works is you have lots of little processors with lots of connections between them, and you change the strengths of the connections, and that's how you learn things. And those connection strengths change have to somehow be driven by data. You're not programmed, you somehow absorb information from data. And you can't do it with rules. There's too many rules to write. You just have to learn it from data.
Now,
so, sorry to interrupt and go back to Pokemon, right? But the whole game of Pokemon is one of the reasons that I loathe theology, as done by American Protestants, because I've watched plenty of streams. In fact, not just American Protestants either. Like, have you ever watched like a Jay Dyer theological debate?
No, I just avoid them.
At some point, it literally just becomes a game of lobbing Bible quotes at each other, literally like it's Pokemon. It's literally like, I play Kings 1-2. I play Luke 14:27. You know, it's just
Jewish. It's Jewish style quibbling over this versus that. To me, the whole point of religion and spirituality and theology is to basically say, look, I don't know. There are great mysteries to the universe, and we can only know them partly or
or from oblique angles, saying like, well, I know all about so and so because I got a Bible verse here that says I have to, do this or that. It's totally antithetical to the point of religion. It's why I never, if I can, I avoid talking about religion in spaces like these, because you just end up with, my card says this, your card says that, endlessly. Debate club exercises. It makes a mockery of religion.
That data was available online, and Hinton began to feed millions of words and images into the machines and instructed them to look for patterns. To learn a language, the neural network would look for which particular words appeared next to each other in the billions of sentences they were scanning, and which were far apart. The machine is not interested in the meaning of the sentence, only the patterns. It was a completely different way of making.
I know it's been said many times before, but I still think it needs to be reiterated. Is this thing of as is it Hinton said just then, we used to have a concept of what artificial intelligence was, and neural networks are not what we consider artificial intelligence to be, are they? They're just fancy algorithms for words. They can't think in the way that an artificial intelligence would be able to.
It's different, yeah. It's based on trying to model AI from the human brain and how that works, which they find doesn't actually produce the results. This is different. I mean, to grossly oversimplify it, this is more about letting the machine absorb the data and notice the kind of associative strings of similarity between data, which it can then group. It gives you a sort of sense about why when we use, I mean, I noticed somebody in the chat said the large language models that we're using online are not AIs. Accepting that point for a moment, but it gives you a sense of why when you're using the AI, it kind of misses out things that are sort of obvious to you. Using your organic brain, it can't actually see the thing that you're thinking of because it doesn't model its behavior on the same.
I think all the problems we're now having with these LLMs stem from the fact that we've been advertising them for 10 years as AI to normies, and especially most dangerously of all to do with money, which is why they ended up putting trillions into it all of a sudden, because really it's a disingenuous marketing scam from the bottom up, which tells everyone that we've got a magic robot that's going to solve all the problems that we've got ourselves into, when of course it's not. It's just a neural network that can throw words out, with varying degrees of accuracy. It's not what it's been sold as to people who essentially can't differentiate it from, as I said, just a magic robot. And people say, oh no, but you don't understand, there are way more advanced versions you've just not seen, and this kind of thing. Well, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. You have to look at what we have, and
have you used the paid versions of these? They're scarcely better at all. There's like almost no difference.
I know. People keep saying, yeah, you just need to get the better version. It's not true. It's not true.
And as you say, Panama, you use the word scam, and I'm seeing a lot of marketing scam coming up in the chat here. So there's obviously better minds out there who understand this in a far deeper way than I do. But I mean, that is something that I posted an interview that Curtis did about this series at the time, where that's very much his position. He says, I suspect a lot of it is a scam.
Yeah, and as I've been saying for the last couple of years, I think that there's nothing inherently wrong with these LLMs. They do have, in certain contexts, they are extremely useful machines. But the problem is, the threat is what they've been sold as to older generations, essentially, and what the societal perception of what they are is immensely skewed. And a big part of that is simply because we've called them AIs, which are not. That most people don't have any way to tell what an AI is beyond, oh well, that must mean it's the machine that thinks like a human, which it isn't.
Like I'm sure quite a lot of people of our age would think of Terminator 2 specifically, because like the Terminator, the Arnie Terminator describes the moment at which the machines kind of went to war with humanity, and he says Skynet wakes up. Basically, I can't remember what words he used.
Yeah,
Skynet becomes self-aware, and it's like, in real life, we know of no instance yet where anyone's made any machine that can become self-aware or think. It's still just a calculator, basically, like a sophisticated one. I don't think they would ever reach that. And what you said about marketing scam, the whole thing, the whole claim of what these are going to be capable of and the effect they're going to have and so on. I think you're absolutely right, and it's appropriate that the central figure of it is Sam Altman, who seems to me a marketing scammer. Like he's just there to raise money. Yeah, he's there to raise money for his company or related people or whatever. Like,
and his people. Let's not forget that.
Funny,
Let's not forget
Musk was throwing shade at him the other day, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean Musk, I think of as quite scammy and quite a marketing scammer as well, maybe. But Altman in particular, it's like you're just there to raise money. You're like some people, like the Guggenheim family, for instance, apparently made their fortune in the first place from mining promotion, which means just eliciting investment for mining projects, like as in including like exploratory mining, which is like 100-to-1 shot risk. You know, like it just carries on through, especially one particular group of people. I mean, obviously, nothing. I just mean marketing people, obviously, by certain kind of people. But yeah, it's like the whole thing just smells like the whole AI moment just smells of scummy bastards like scamming money out of people. And it will not. It absolutely will not fulfill the promise that they make. It will be useful. It is useful to some people. It can do some work for you, but that is it.
And part of what it's doing is to relate it back to last week. We looked at Michael Gazzaniga's model of the brain as these distributed modules. And there is an idea in this concept of, if you like, programming AI as something which is about taking information and distributing it across networks. And then these associations allow it to sort of come together in this very utilitarian way when you put a request to it. But then, as we go on to see here, Curtis shows how it sort of leads to perverse outcomes, especially when it's applied to financial predictions, which you see unravel in the subprime mortgage crash of 2008.
Sense of reality. Human beings told themselves stories about what was happening around them minute by minute. Hinton's neural networks were a kind of intelligence that completely ignored all stories. Instead, they crossed back and forth across time and space as they searched through data on the internet, looking for links and patterns that human beings would never be able to see or understand. Hinton began to work on artificial intelligence at Google, and he gave what he had created a name. He called it Vector World. It expressed what was becoming one of the most powerful mythologies of our age. The idea that had begun with the world is too complicated for us as humans to understand. But nothing is too complicated for the machines and the data. For they can see the reality under the surface.
Sound roboting a bit.
Yeah, I think we're using AI.
Sorry, what's up?
Oh, sound was roboting there. It sounded like you were being claimed by the machine.
Oh, no, everything's fine on this end.
It's all right.
Oh, okay. Do I sound all right now?
You're fine. It was just the actual soundtrack.
It's the stream.
The documentary was fragmenting.
See if it comes back. We're 2 hours 40 in. We should probably wrap up in a minute. Should we wrap up? Yeah. Let's wrap up. 108.
We can do.
Anything else to say about Hegel and Heidegger? Read Pokemon.
Let's have a look at some super chats and get out. Come on, let's call it. I did see something online that we should share before we get out of here. But okay, so Chris Primer with the super chat says he's Mr. 2 Corinthians, if you remember that. Who's Mr. 2 Corinthians?
Is that Jay Dyer?
Jack.
Is that a reference?
I don't think so, because he said that a lot earlier. Jack Chipper says, why did my Orange King delay Jesus' return again? Cry face. AI Empire says the timing of the attack on the Israeli consulate in Turkey seems sus. I am not aware of such an attack. Maybe that's happened since we've come on air. Cringe Walker says the Theoden King narrative doesn't work, of course, because we live in reality. You can't magically possess the king from a dark tower. from a dark tower. He also says Trump. Yeah, go on.
Well, just to add, I when I brought up the whole idea of the wall around him, it wasn't necessarily that he's sort of a Theoden figure who's been corrupted. I think I have no illusions that Trump is some pure American nationalist that was going to come and do amazing things, but just got sort of cornered off. The point about that was just that I think specifically in relation to this war, I would guess, based on the things he's been doing, that he's not being given the entire picture in terms of what's on the ground. I mean, I know he did push for it pretty hard, but just the sheer disconnect between what he's saying and what the actual results of his actions are.
I think he might have had a WeVibe device inserted, actually, and there's a black guy out for coffee somewhere who's programming him.
Oh, that would be awful, wouldn't it? You got given the wrong one somewhere, and this is someone else's.
I would like, sorry to interrupt the broadcast again, but I would like to wish good luck, best of luck to Tim Kiff Munns, the newest Reform UK candidate for Southampton. I was born in Kent and moved to Southampton in 2017. I married my husband in 2014. We are dog lovers with 4 of our own and 2 older children. So I'd like to give Tim Kiff Munns the best of luck with
Looks
his
like
endeavours.
Lyle Lovett, if anybody remembers him.
Cringe
Lyle
Walker
Lovett married to someone beautiful.
Julia Roberts, I think, wasn't it, or something?
There we go. Yeah.
Cringe Walker says Trump has Parkinson's. The medicine makes you slur and sway like that. The odd behavior is a side effect and not a disease. Baru Wizrobe says you need to secure yourself in a cameo in the Will Stansel show. Gorse Flowers says clearly AA equals Traegard from Nightmare. The beard, the smoking jacket, the mischievous centrism energy. Caution, team. Simon equals the Uncle Ginger from the Queen's Nose. No, that is an obscure reference. And Horace gives pure Mr. Baxter from Grange Hill Authority vibes.
Bullet Baxter. I remember him.
Who was
Bullet Baxter?
What was he? Was he Wellard or something?
He was
he
the
strict?
PT. He was the physical education teacher who would, I remember he knocked another teacher out at one point. He was a bit of a tough guy. He was played by an actor called Michael Cronin, who I knew, actually. I think he's still around. He's a very nice man, but he was a bit scary in Grange Hill.
I couldn't be a PE teacher. I wasn't that sporty. I am now in my 40s. Anyway.
Gorse Flower says Hat is Dogtanian and Sven at Sampdoria. So that's Dogtanian from the Four Musketeers, for the Three Musketeers cartoon.
Well, I'm quite happy with that. I mean, it was you 3 plus me.
Sven at Sampdoria was pure beauty. Stick to Italian football. Every series of Gazzetta Football Italia is on YouTube too, old bean. I mean, maybe. I mean, I think I'm back to. By the way, you asked me about Wales, Simon. Turns out we're off tomorrow and we'll be back by next week. So the show should be on. The Badger Parade is not cancelled. I should be back by next Wednesday.
Oh, we'll get through another 8 minutes.
Simon just died again.
You
He's like,
can hear
the bitterness.
You can hear the genuine disappointment in his voice there. I love that.
No, I'm not grim from Red Hood says this is objectively speaking your best OH title, office hours title. Well, it's a Deepest Law title, but yeah, okay. Eye for an Eye says you're having a laugh if you think data centers you're having a laugh, ain't you? You're having a laugh if you think data centers don't bring some form of slavery. Why else do you care so much about them? Yeah. Eye for an Eye also says I put my phone in a Faraday bag every night. Do you know? Right.
Radiation thing. Or?
It's Faraday cage. You can sort of block signals from getting to your phone.
I'm going to go on another 43-year-old married man rant. Every single night. You know, I've got my Yellow Devil, right? And I've got a particular plug that I I charge my phone in every night. And every single day, the missus takes that plug and fucking puts it somewhere. Wait, like every single day, puts it in a drawer, puts it on a shelf, or in a little basket, or so. Just leave it there. Or she'll actually turn it off, turn the power off. So I put it on and it's not even on because she's turned it off. Oh, it's so annoying. These are the things that women do.
You see what I'm saying? You see,
Why?
they just, after a certain point, just saying, they become annoying.
It's just genuinely what it's like. Anyway, let's carry on. I have a little clip I found. Let me just play this. Here is an Indian news host on a show called India First, when he found out that Pakistan brokered the ceasefire.
खबर आई है, ये सुन लीजिए। पाकिस्तान ने अमेरिका और ईरान के बीच छिड़ने वाला युद्ध रोक दिया है, दुनिया को हिला देने वाला कदम। पर क्या ये हमारे लिए जीत है? नहीं, हमें सोचना होगा, हमें पूछना होगा, क्यों हमें हमेशा किनारे पर खड़ा होना पड़ता है? ये बर्दाश्त नहीं होता। हमारी आवाज कब तक दबेगी? देखिए।
So that was Indian Alex Jones there. Didn't take the news very well.
I have a weird amount of respect for how sincerely Indians take everything. There is something oddly sort of, I wish we still had that much spirit left for anything. It'd be nice.
I also just as I found that, here is the map that I was going on about earlier of the new EU involving Canada and Greenland and
Greenland.
And look, is that Russia in there? And Russia.
Now no, but hang on now. That would be good.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because
that would be. Go on.
Basically, Oswald Mosley was right about this. There just needs to be a giant EU superstate. Him and Evola.
Not to be trite and obvious, but can it be led by Britain though? Anyway, move on.
The same. I mean, they've undone Brexit. If you have a look there. The same guy who made the AI thing, has also made an AI Streets of Rage, Shredder edition. There's me and my sure. This is my Shredder outfit.
That's actually pretty good. I like that.
So I still wear those shorts to pickleball every time I play. So those same ones.
I love the carbs trained up by years of composting. Yeah,
definitely.
Whatever happened to the composter?
It's still there. It's still the hot bin is still there, and now the sun's come out. It's going to be resurrected. I'm going to resurrect it, and I'm going to buy 4 cabbages. I've got some chicken poop. I've got the guys who did the grass 2 days ago. Left me a deposit of cut grass. So the hot bin's going to be back, baby. It's going to be back. Obidar Vandal says, I finally beat Noitia. A hell of a game. Tons of esoteric secrets, alchemy themes, magic crafting. Truly masochistic game though, and way harder than Dark Souls. Is Noitia the one where you can shoot bits of the wall and things like that? I haven't been able to get anywhere in that game. I play it, die, and give up. It's basically I've not got anywhere in that game at all. Anti-Slop Dingism says, thoughts on Bo's chat with Lolbert Lowe, sloppy on legal economic migration, and implied that a better armed Britain may support Trump versus Iran. All he has to do to win my vote is shut up, and yet. Well, apparently Rupert Lowe did Bo's show yesterday morning, and the reaction has not been good. I haven't actually seen it myself, so
some of what he said was good, but there were spots where it's like, "Oh, you're a Tory," which we know he has been a Tory until he joined the Brexit Party, right? Still
the danger is, like we were talking about with Trump earlier, of he's been obviously he's been very good on his messaging, personally him. But there's a danger of getting into a kind of papal atmosphere, where you're surrounded by your men who are keeping feedback from the outside world from you. You do need to let that stuff through and perhaps inform and modulate your messaging, so you don't drop bangers like this.
if I could be a little less subtle, that gatekeeper guy, is it Alistair Harrison? He seems like a problem. Like, get him out of the way because he's and then we all know. Sorry, I don't mean get him out of the way. I have no idea, but I just mean like we're still not really getting like the clear version of Logue. We don't actually know. He seems to be, you know, he says contradictory things or something. It's not clear.
And that Alistair guy is a slot merchant. Let's face it.
Right, and he reposts fucking on the Restore Twitter account, not even Lowe's account. He's reposting fucking Basil the Great and getting him to go on Basil the Great fucking streams and stuff. Yeah, it's bad. That's a problem. Like Restore is dubious because of him, and because of Lowe as well. Maybe like Lowe is not. It's not clear that he's as hardcore as we all think. I think he's not.
I've also just seen on my Twitter something that could have been included in this Curtis documentary, which is a new type of umbrella. This is an umbrella that doesn't have a handle. It is controlled by a drone. Go and have a watch of it. Would you use that? Would you use a drone umbrella? It seems like
wood. Yeah, wood, very much wood.
Are you talking about her or the umbrella?
Whoa,
umbrella.
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, to be honest, I have such trouble with normal umbrellas. I mean, if it was a drone, I mean, think what could happen? It might just fly off, or lose signal and collapse on you, or
drop a grenade on you.
Kill somebody, or what's going to do?
It might be programmed to explode or something.
I never use an umbrella. I just get wet or use a hood. Or
hey, we got a lot of people saying that was an AI fake video. It's not real.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I hate.
I tell you how you can know that is because if that was a real product, there'd be logos and prices all over it, wouldn't there? They'd be saying, "Buy this now."
Disgusting.
And there'd be like there'd be an app where you could tell it to like, you know.
Can't you just let us believe? We want to stay in our dream.
No, ignore the neural networks. They're not your friend.
Yeah,
there'd be an app with sliders to make it go faster, or like tickler or whatever. Anyway, sorry.
If it was up to me, I'd reduce all tech to the level of the Babbage difference engine.
No.
If you can't do it on a physical calculator, it doesn't deserve to exist.
Speaking of the Musketeers, we have to do a virtual thing where we all put our hands in, right? The Musketeers do that thing, all for one and one for all. And we have to make a pledge that we do more than 8 minutes. Otherwise, Simon's going to end up next week. Otherwise, Simon's going to end up in a fetal position, a kind of coital.
I keep thinking,
like rolling up into an egg, rolling back and forth. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, screaming and crying. I keep thinking there's another 7 hours of Curtis on Russia that we have to get through. That's going to be
7 hours.
So bleak.
Simon's going to be rocking back and forth like an Arkham Asylum patient.
This is going to be it's going to be like have I got news for you? We're going to be here in like 22 years still doing the same
well, he'll have made loads more since after that.
So it never
it's already there is another
like
after the Russian
you'll become like self-parody versions of yourself, like Ian Hislop's and
Now come on, Simon, you must have known in a week dominated by the Iran war, just basically ending, and Pokemon, you must have known it was going to be a tough one.
It sort of is a relief actually, because I mean it is just ludicrous now looking at the amount of cope going on in the last few days to what we've been seeing. It's hugely entertaining, but it's also disturbing.
So, all right. Pick up a course at the Academic Agency. Subscribe to these good gentlemen on their various platforms. That is Simon on Twitter. I mean, you can follow Horus on Twitter, but he's got a Substack as well. Hat has got a YouTube channel here. All of them are linked in the show notes. Have a nice sunny day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to finish my cigar, and thereupon I'm going to monitor the situation by digesting copious amounts of Judge Knapp analysis on the taco. Goodbye.
Ta-ta.
Ciao.
Oh, bloody hell, and last minute super chat. His politics and prose are garbage, but is Nick Land's understanding of modernity not correct? Namely, that it's awful. He just chooses the evil side. Well, I don't know what Nick Land's thesis is,
perhaps
'cause
we
I
could
can't
answer that
understand the fucking word he's
next
saying.
week. We'll answer it next week because we're very close to ending exactly on the dot of 3 hours. Maybe.
By the way, I'll just say I'll be down at the Lotus Eaters event at the Swindon Grievance Factory this weekend. So if you do see me, come and say hello.
Give my regards to the lads.
Yes.
Bye.
What goes on in this town is none of your business.
As long as I'm living here, it is.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
Well, that's easily fixed.